My twin sister, 18 female, and I, 18 female, took a genetic test, and we did not share any DNA. What should my next step be when no one in the family is telling me why? My sister and I are fraternal twins. Recently, we took a genetic test for fun because we wanted to see what we shared and the differences between us. Since we still share genes, fraternal twins are like siblings genetically. My grandparents had suggested the tests and got them for us, so our parents didn't know about it. But our results made no sense. My twins was coming up almost completely as Eastern and Western European, which makes sense, as most of my family are Croatian, German, and Austrian. So all of that would be accurate. But mine wasn't anything like that. It was almost completely Scandinavian, with some Russian and a couple of other places, neither of which were on my twins' results. She had a very small percentage of Scandinavian, but that was it. And we had no matched DNA, which clearly seemed impossible. We were literally twins. We have to share DNA. My twin said they must have mixed my sample up with someone else. We ended up contacting the company, and my twin and I took a test again. It was the same result. Both my twin and I were really confused. We told our grandparents, and they just said that was interesting, and said nothing else. My twin said we should tell our parents and see if they had ever done a genetic test, or if any of our siblings had, and then we could see if somehow ours was still right. I mean, it kinda made sense that I'd have Scandinavian, because I'm much taller than my mother, and quite a bit taller than my twin, and I'm way better at football and handball than she is. And I'm very blonde compared to the rest of my family, but I had thought that it was the German. When we told our mother, they reacted almost the same way as my grandparents, but she seemed annoyed, and said that they're inaccurate anyway, and our grandparents shouldn't have told us to take one. And when we asked our father, he basically said nothing. I'm confused. I know that my twin thinks it's just a mistake, but I don't think so. We have to share DNA, about 50%. That's how twins and siblings work. Even though we're fraternal, we should still share quite a bit of DNA, but other explanations don't make any sense. My mother can't have cheated on my father because my twin and I would still share DNA, just less because we would have different fathers. The results mean we can't share a parent or even be related, but I don't see why my parents would adopt me if I'm not their child, when I don't think they've ever been to Scandinavia, and why they'd adopt a baby that's almost exactly the same age as their baby. I'm panicking. The person I'm closest with in the whole world, who I thought I even shared the womb with, might not even be related to me. My birthday might not even be real. None of this makes any sense, and no one is telling me the truth. I'm also scared my twin might tell her boyfriend about it, and then people might end up knowing that I'm some kind of fraud, and my family isn't my family at all. Edit. I called the clinic where my mother gave birth to all of my siblings. The day of my birthday, my mother is in the records, but only for one birth. Not two, not twins. I don't know if it's an error or my mother didn't give birth to me. OP on asking her extended family members for answers and ask her parents and grandparents. OP says, I don't think they want to tell me anything. They're all acting weirdly now, and I heard my mother yelling at people on the phone. I don't know what's going on, but there's no way they want to tell me what's going on. I looked when my twin wasn't there, but I had no close ones, only very distant ones, only people who are my 8th cousins and that sort of thing, so not very helpful. She sounded a bit too polite for that sometimes, and sometimes at odd times of the day, so I'm not sure it was always my grandparents, but probably my father too. OP on her mother's records at the clinic and see if it was possible she was swapped at birth. OP says, sadly, my mother has given birth every time in a private clinic that is very small. She prefers it. She thinks hospitals are disgusting, and she prefers knowing the doctors. So while that is possible, and I'll look into getting parental DNA done, it would be very concerning if that had happened, because at most, maybe 3 or 4 other women would have given birth at a similar time as her, but possible definitely. OP on getting her birth certificate from her parents, which might reveal more details on her background. OP says, I didn't think about my birth certificate. I'll ask them, but if they don't give it to me, then I'm sure it shouldn't be too difficult to find. OP on if her grandparents knew anything about her situation. OP says, kind of. I did ask them why they suggested it, and my grandmother said that doesn't matter. I said clearly it does if the results are right, but she just said she doesn't know anything and to tell my mother that. I don't know why they would deliberately upset my parents with this, but I'm only assuming that they wanted me to know. But I don't know why. I think my grandmother thinks that I should figure it out myself now I know, but I literally have no clue when no one will tell me anything at all. Burn Me Up 82 says, if your grandparents suggested the tests, they gave you an important hint towards something. If you don't share DNA, you're not actually twins, nor related at all. Was one of you adopted? Switched at birth? OP says, if one of us were, it had to be me. Most of my father's side is Croatian. There was none in my results, or even close to that region. Did either of you get any genetic matches from the website? I did a test on Ancestry.com a few years ago and got matches to my nephew and my maternal aunt who had both submitted tests. I could have delved deeper to find more distant relatives, but didn't feel like spending the extra money. I'm just thinking if either of you found some closer genetic matches like cousins, aunts and uncles, etc., it might provide some background information at least. OP says, yes, but mine were people that I've never met in my life. My sister had familiar names. And now onto the update. So I'm adopted, which was probably quite obvious as soon as I got the results, but I guess I was in denial. My parents told me a couple of days ago, not much, but a bit. I know now that my mother was Danish, and my father's old girlfriend from when he was really young, which is seriously weird. I asked them a lot of questions, but I didn't get answers to all of them. I don't know who my father is, how my parents were able to adopt me, and why. If she's even alive, nothing. But thankfully, I'm actually legally adopted by them, which is a relief, since I was worried that I might not be, and my birthday is actually my birthday. So they haven't been committing any weird fraud. It is very weird. My sister has been acting weirdly, and my family as well, but in some ways, it's a relief. My parents still feel like my parents, and my siblings like my siblings. I know that technically they're not, but I don't feel too upset about it. I'm just upset that they lied, and also won't tell me everything. I don't know if they genuinely don't know, or don't want to talk about it, but at least I have an idea about everything now. I'm still not quite sure how I feel about it, but I'm glad that I know about things now. Plus, now I have a country that's actually good at football to support, which is nice. Maybe someday I'll find out everything, maybe not. I could probably look her up and find her if I wanted to, but I'm not sure if I do, if she's still alive. Although everything is different, it doesn't feel so bad, but it does at the same time. It's very weird. But I have a family that loves me, so it could be much worse. I feel sad about my twin, since we're not actually related, which feels really different, and she's acting different as well. But I still love her a lot, and my parents as well. I think it'll take some time to know how I really feel. In some ways, I want to be mad at everyone and do stupid things, but that's only sometimes. And overall, I feel okay, so that's good. And eventually I think I'll be content with how everything is. OP on looking into her background to find her biological relatives, especially birth parents. OP says, I didn't think of that. Maybe at some point I will, but right now I'm happy with my family and how things are, and I don't really want to go through all of that right now. 2006 Bruin says, the grandparents knew what they were doing. I bet they'd be nagging the parents to tell the truth to OP for years. Golly, what an interesting surprise. Now go tell your parents you found out is one hell of a move. I read the first 3 paragraphs and was like, oh boy, Grandma wants to seed some chaos before she leaves this world. As far as OP told us, it's not that spicy, so I'm glad I was kinda wrong in my initial assumptions. So apparently I'm watching too much House because I was really disappointed when it was just adoption. Like damn, I was hoping for some crazy shit, like that time that lady almost lost custody of her baby because he didn't have the same DNA as her. Like, they took a DNA test and she was genetically found to not be the mother despite the fact that she gave birth to him. It turns out that she had Chimera syndrome, I think? That's based on an actual case. Lydia Fairchild is a chimera who was discovered after the state of Washington tested her as a part of their welfare application process. The state of Washington was convinced that she was trying to scam the state and either used a relative's children or was a surrogate using the surrogacy to scam the state. So she was being charged with fraud, and the prosecutors were attempting to remove her children. She was pregnant with her third child, so the judge ordered that an impartial witness watch the birth and blood draws done on the infant, which also showed she wasn't the mother. It's only after that result that some serious research was done, and it was discovered that her hair, skin, and saliva had one DNA and her reproductive system had another. Am I the arsehole for snapping at my husband for repeatedly bringing up breast surgery? I, 27 female, have been married to my husband, 34 male, for over a year. We've been together for 6 years. He's a gym freak, which I don't have a problem with, except for when he sometimes tries to impose his routine on me, pressuring me into adopting his dietary habits. I exercise too. I'm 5'6", 130 pounds, but I enjoy my food, and nothing will change that. That's not what I'm posting about, though. Lately, I can't wear a dress without him telling me that I look good, but that I would have looked better had I had that breast augmentation surgery. He's never complained about my breasts for 6 years until the past 4 to 5 months. I've told him before that I'm not against it, but I'm not planning to get one. It took me years to regain my confidence because my mother used to make hurtful remarks about my chest, like if it's something I didn't achieve. A few days ago, we were having sex, and he didn't hesitate to remind me again that I would look 10 times better with the implants, which turned me off instantly. I don't remember what I exactly said, but I said something along the lines of, "I know how it feels. Never mind, you're the perfect size. The big ones hurt anyway." He got mad and called me immature. Mind you, he's been pressuring me to have the surgery for 4 months now, and I never snapped at him. Edit, I'm an A-cup. Yesterday we were getting ready to go to his friend's wedding, but I ended up staying home. He brought up the surgery again, and I snapped at him. I reminded him that we dated for 5 years before we got married. He had plenty of time to realize that I'm not good enough for him and break up with me to find a woman who has what he is looking for. I do have eyes. He's right, I'm flat-chested, but I do have a nice body overall. He said he loves me and wants to be with me, but feels he could be more attracted to me with bigger breasts. I ended up telling him to go alone. I can't shake off the feeling that our recent arguments are taking us down a toxic path. It's not the kind of relationship that I want for us. Is this worth considering divorce over? Other than this, we do get along very well, but I feel like he's taking me back to the days when I would stand in front of the mirror for minutes thinking I would never find a man who would like me if I myself don't like what I'm seeing. And edit, for the weirdos asking/going to my profile for pictures to see if they're a handful or not, I'm asking if this behavior is acceptable or not if I really am flat-chested. I am. I don't need to send any pictures for you to judge. In the comments, Sunny SJ says, he tells you quite regularly that he finds you lacking. He even goes as far as to bring this up during sex. These are not the actions of a respectful and loving spouse. You're well within your rights to make a mean comment to him. Funny how people who regularly dish out cruelty are the ones least able to take it. If you agree to the breast augmentation, I would willingly bet a large sum of money that there will be something else that he will want you to fix. You having bigger breasts won't fix whatever his issue is. Exactly. It's the grass is greener syndrome. They want what they can't have. I've had dudes tell me before that they usually prefer blondes and ask if I would dye my hair blonde. No! Go find an effing blonde then, or a woman who already loves dyeing her hair. Jesus, what is it with these people? I also want to point out that if you have augmentation surgery, it's very likely that he will then think that he can ask for other things, possibly even use this surgery as a reason to do them. Well, yeah, but you did your breast augmentation and it was fine. Trust me, do this. People who don't respect boundaries will continue to push the second you show them that they can. Whatever happens, don't do the surgery. Yes, but even worse, he'll say, "But you didn't have a problem with getting breast augmentation. Why are you being oversensitive now? You must be cheating on me." Seriously. Your husband shouldn't be nagging you to undergo an elective surgery for only his benefits. He's being immensely disrespectful, which is too nice of a description, but anyway, be proud of your body. Don't allow his behavior to affect your self-esteem. Does he know that you might consider divorce over this issue? Tell him and base your decision upon his reaction, not the asshole. OP says, no, he doesn't know yet. I'm planning to sit him down tomorrow and talk about it. Whenever I try to talk about it, he tries and changes the subject. I am so livid for you that there aren't enough expletives on Earth to describe what I think of him. Suffice to say that there are flatworms that I have more respect for than anyone who pressures a partner to get vanity surgeries. And to have the audacity to tell you that you're being immature for turning the tables? Pathetic. I have no idea why the people in your life want you to have big boobs. As a person with them, no you don't. They are a logistical pain in the butt. Tell your asshole husband and your mum if he wants big boobs, he should look into getting augmented himself, not the asshole. And P.S., speaking of your mum, are you sure this isn't her doing on some level? Yeah, like why get augmentation surgery if it's something that your partner wants and not you yourself wanting? Usually with augmentation surgery like this, a lot of people don't even like it, even though they're the ones pushing for it and get even worse body dysmorphia after the fact. Obviously, I'm not speaking for everyone there, but it's a well-known phenomena. It's like, you're going to hate yourself even more than he's making you hate yourself now if you were to go through with this. Not to mention, yeah, like everyone else said, he's going to ask for more and more and more, and nothing is ever going to be enough, and in the end, you might change so much that he just leaves you, and he's like, you've changed too much, I liked how you were before all of this. It's just not fair. It's really just not fair to put someone through that. He's definitely an asshole for continuing to bring it up, especially during sex. Like, what is his problem? And now, onto the update. I had no intention of mentioning divorce, not until I get some answers that could help with my decision. I was hoping we would end up agreeing on counseling or something. I just wanted an honest conversation to know if there was a way to fill that void for him without ever getting the surgery. I sat him down last night, and just like usual, he tried to change the subject. I made it clear to him that it's either we talk about it now, or he never brings up breast surgery ever again. Well, that did it for him. I asked him why he suddenly, after 6 years together, wants me to get one. He wouldn't give me a straight answer. I told him if I'm to consider having one, he needs to be honest with me about what changed in the past few months. He grabbed his phone and showed me some women's pictures on his phone. And let me tell you, they weren't Instagram models. They were 100% OnlyFans models. He showed me more than 5 pictures with no shame or the slightest consideration of my feelings. With each pic, he said things like, "See, you would look 10 times hotter. She's not even as gorgeous as you are, but..." I asked him if I decide to never get the surgery, would he ever drop the idea? Like, can we move past it? He said it's something that he can't stop thinking about because he really feels like he would be more attracted to me and that I myself would feel more confident with the boob job. I do have eyes, and just like I know how small my chest is, I know that I have a nice body figure. People see and people compliment, so they can't all be liars. I asked what he ever liked about me in general, because from the pictures he showed, I didn't see any woman that resembled me even a bit. He said that I'm gorgeous and have a killer smile, and he likes my curvy hips. I asked him if there's anything else about me that he likes in general. I was hoping he would mention something other than my body or just anything, and all he said was, "Your lips." I told him since I'm considering breast augmentation surgery, is there anything else he thinks I could fix so he feels more attracted to me while we're at it? I hoped that he would at least say other than my boobs, he loves everything about me. He said, "You're good." Also, from all the grammatical errors here, you could tell I'm not a native English speaker. I'm Brazilian. I told him I'll think about it and said goodnight because I didn't want to give him the satisfaction of seeing my tears. I don't know if I'm just naturally stupid or never paid attention to the red flags, or he just decided to show me his true colors now that we're married. By the way, since some asked, yes, he does know about my history with my mother. Every woman in my family is a C cup and up, including my younger sister. I'm the only one with an A cup. He initiated sex later, and I told him that there is a lot on my mind right now. He didn't even argue, and after like 5 minutes, he said, "I'll pay for it. Don't you worry about that." When we met, he was around 230 pounds, he's 5'8", and never went to the gym before. He's 190 pounds now. I'm mentioning this because someone said that I hooked up with him for his looks and physique. Physique wasn't on the table back then, but it never did or would matter to me as long as the person in front of me cares about me for who I am. I myself am not perfect. Anyway, he was so insecure about his looks and I never ever said a thing about it. I used to, and still voice how I love this and that about him. I boosted his ego just for him to decide that he would be more attracted to me if I got a boob job after 6 years together. And for those saying that I'm lazy for not going to the gym with him and that he wants what's best for me, I said I do exercise. Yes, I'm an A cup, and I know it's not for everyone, and I respect that, but I'm goddamn gorgeous. My mother and him or anyone else will not change that. I'm a babe. Deal with it. He himself used to mention how I get looks all the time when we're out. I felt hurt and cried because it hurts to not feel desired by the person you love the most and want to be desired by. Other than that, I'm perfectly happy with my body, and if I ever decide to get the boob job, I will get it for me, not for someone who finishes in 2 minutes and can't even hit the spot. I need time to make a plan before I start the process. When everything is ready and I have a place lined up, I will serve him the papers. By the way, I will initiate sex tonight and every night until the day that I serve him. Edits, I get now that it's a bad idea, but I will go with it for tonight at least. I bought a dildo today, thrice his size, and I'm using it right after he finishes. If he goes low, I'm going lower until I have an exit plan ready. Thank you to each and every one of you who took the time to read my post and share their support and advice. Your words have really made a difference to me. Thanks to the men who offered their perspectives and advice also. Your honesty has been eye-opening. In the comments, Mad Hatter 106 says, I read your original post with my girlfriend, and we were curious to read an update. I'm sorry to see that your talk didn't have better results, but at least you know now where you stand. We were both amazed at the shallowness and casual hurtfulness of your husband's disparaging comments, especially in the middle of sex. It's difficult to understand how someone could say something so damaging to a loved one's self-esteem, and in doing so, sabotage the health of their own marriage. All that just so he could have a bigger set of boobs to play with? Frankly, your husband sounds like an idiot. I'm happy to hear that you're not letting it drag you down and that you recognize your own hotness. That self-confidence is really your most attractive feature. Don't lose it, but do lose the dead weight that is your husband. Good luck. And OP replies, thank you. Both you and your girlfriend are so kind. Good for you. Your husband sounds like one of those basic guys who exclusively thinks with their dick. You'll find better. He's sitting there looking for and constantly staring at OnlyFans women with large breasts. He's feeding this obsession and he's an idiot. I'm glad she's dumping him. He's obsessing himself right out of his marriage. Which do you think is better? A lovely, wonderful woman in real life or a curated fantasy girl online? Gross. Just another example of how OF models can do severe damage to relationships if the partner that is piloting that ship is a complete idiot and lets their fantasies and addictions overwhelm them. I think it's good to have in moderation and it can be healthy if you're not a little psychopath like this guy, but demanding that your partner get a boob job to fulfill your fantasies? How do you not see continually piling on your partner in that way not leading to divorce? Like, you completely shit on the person that is supposed to love you and you're supposed to love the most, and yet you keep attacking their character, their body, their everything. I do think he deserved to get divorced in this instance. He didn't listen to her at all. He didn't pick up on the fact that she was throwing him a bone and being like, you can say all of the things you love about me, not just my body. And he didn't do that. He just destructed the marriage. Sucks to be him, but you don't know what you have until it's gone, and he's gonna find out, that's for sure. Our next post is by user Am I the Asshole Roblox Hacker, titled, Am I the asshole for threatening to kick out my niece after she hacked my daughter's Roblox account? My 38 female, daughter 13 female, has been playing this game called Roblox since lockdown first started as a way of playing with her friends virtually, as well as curing her boredom. She was obsessed with this Roblox game that's set in a school because she missed her friends so much, and it allowed her to stay connected with them. Her interest in video games has developed into an interest into technology. She is by far the top of her IT class and has even started learning how to code in order to make her own game. My sister, 34 female, and niece, 10 female, have recently had to move in with us after my sister discovered that her husband was having an affair. They're staying at my house for the time being, while she saves up money for a place of their own. My niece and daughter usually get along, and they both bond over their interest in Roblox. Last week, my daughter was completely distraught and crying non-stop. She said that she saw her cousin playing on a Roblox game and realized her cousin's avatar had a lot more items than usual. She decided to join her, only to realize that her account had been hacked and she'd lost nearly every item she had on her favorite Roblox game. She lost 800k of the in-game currency and nearly her entire inventory, which she claimed was worth over 5 million of the in-game currency. She had spent the last 4 years saving up for those items, and everything was gone just like that. My daughter began accusing my niece of hacking her account. My niece denied it at first, but quickly broke under the pressure and admitted everything. The previous day, they had been playing on the game together when I called them down to dinner. My niece has only been playing for a few months, and I suppose she would be considered a noob. She begged my daughter to give her some of her items, and my daughter refused, saying that she should earn the items by herself. When my daughter came down, my niece decided to stay behind for a minute to transfer all of my daughter's items into her account. I tried to mediate the situation, but my sister is refusing to cooperate. She told me that it's only a game, it's not like my daughter spent real money on it. I attempted to explain just how much this game means to my daughter, to which my sister said that my daughter should count herself lucky that her biggest problem is a bunch of pixels on a screen. She said that my daughter was a teenager now and was too old to be acting this immature over a game. My niece refuses to give my daughter her stuff back and says it's unfair that my daughter gets to have everything she wants, both in real life and online. I told my sister and niece that both of them were acting like ungrateful brats, considering how I was letting them stay in my home rent-free. Today, I gave her an ultimatum. If my niece doesn't return everything she hacked from my daughter, they were both going to have 1 week to leave. I told her that I refuse to let anyone disrespect my daughter under my roof. Am I the asshole? In the comments, Bamf says, not the asshole. I am getting so tired of people telling other people that they're too old to love the things that they love. Let people enjoy things they want to and enjoy life. It doesn't matter if your daughter is too old for the game or if she doesn't spend any real money on the items. What matters is that your niece stole from your daughter and your sister wants to give her no repercussions for this action. How much longer until your niece decides that it's not fair that your daughter has something else that she doesn't have and takes it from you, or that you have something that she doesn't and takes that? Theft is theft, and if your sister doesn't put a stop to it now, it can start a slippery slope, especially since that your niece has seen that she has her mother's approval. Yes, your niece has been given a raw deal, but that is no excuse to steal, especially from someone who not only had nothing to do with why she has this bad situation, but who was sharing her home to try to help her out. Both your niece and your sister have taken your hospitality and broken your trust. Agreeing with you and adding, real money isn't real either. It's a bunch of data that we all collectively agree to imagine moving around in exchange for goods and services. Your daughter worked for those imaginary resources and received them. I work for imaginary money and receive it. I can pay the mortgage with my imaginary resources or buy silly things that make me happy or play games. She can play a game which helps her feel good and connect with friends. It matters just as much as if it was real money. You are exactly right. Money only has value because we decided that it has value. This was a lesson in philosophy. Society as a whole generally determines a monetary system and what has worth or value. If anyone read Utopia, there's a section where children play with gems as toys, so they don't assign worth to material things beyond those needed to maintain health and comfort. Clothing, heat, basic furniture, food, etc. Not the arsehole. When I was your niece's age, I had a friend come over who was upset at my brother for something and deleted his game off of Ocarina of Time. She wasn't allowed over again. Stealing is stealing, even when one person says the value is 0. Oh wow, and your brother didn't murder her? I play Zelda, and I would be pissed if someone deleted my hard work. Man, I'm old, and remember sitting with my brother while he called numbers from gaming magazines to get tips on Zelda and Dragon Warrior games, lol. Just like that time back in Varric Bank when someone told me that they would trim my rune armor and then they said trade me and then press Alt F4 and the transformation will be complete. And I got scammed and I started crying. I cried so hard that I got scammed on RuneScape. Except this wasn't a scammer that I could punch in the face or do anything about. It was online. But I know exactly how your daughter feels in this instance. It doesn't matter. Those things had value to me. My life was consumed by those things at the time. RuneScape Gold has inherent value. I invest my time, emotion, and own resources in life into something like that instead of something else that maybe other people would think is more valuable. This family doesn't get to decide that the daughter's Roblox currency has no value. If it didn't have value, then why is she stealing it? Why did the niece place the daughter's Roblox account so high above hers that she had to steal from it? Riddle me that, huh? And now, on to the update. Thank you all for your advice. My sister and niece moved out last week. She's in the process of getting an apartment, and they're temporarily staying with a friend of my sister's for the time being. I warned her that if I contacted the developers, they would get her daughter banned. So either way, my niece wasn't keeping the stuff that she stole, so she should try to minimize her losses. She claimed I had no proof her daughter hacked the account and refused to compromise. She said that I was petty and childish for making them homeless over a kid's video game. And don't get me wrong, I feel bad. I really do. My sister and I never really got along as kids, but I was hoping that at least our kids could have a good relationship with each other, but still, they were inevitably going to leave at some point, so I suppose I only sped up the process. Now that my niece is gone, my daughter seems a lot happier now. She told me that she was perfectly fine, but I knew her well enough to know that she wasn't. Some very kind and generous people here have offered to gift her some of their items to rebuild her account, to which I'm extremely grateful, but my daughter said that she felt bad about taking stuff from other people. I had already reported my niece's account, which seemed to have no effect. I'm not very tech-savvy, but I considered contacting the Roblox developers to see if they could reverse the transaction. However, my daughter informed that doing so would only ban the account, losing all of my daughter's items in the process. I would like to extend all my thanks to the commenter that suggested I try and log into my niece's account. Believe it or not, it only took 5 attempts. Turns out that 10-year-old girls don't have the best comprehension of internet security. Surprisingly, getting into the account was the easy part. I spent an embarrassingly long amount of time looking up how to trade everything back. I swear I'm getting old. I couldn't tell which items were my daughter's and which were actually my niece's, so I simply transferred everything my niece had just to be safe. When she came home from school today, I told my daughter that I had a fun surprise for her waiting on Roblox. Words can't describe how proud of myself I felt when I saw the joy rush back into her face. The ironic part is that my niece had previously won this very rare Halo item from this sort of lottery system, which my daughter claims is one of the most expensive items in that game. Now it was transferred to my daughter's account, meaning that my daughter walked out of the situation richer than she was to start with. My sister just messaged me in all caps, yelling that my niece has been put through so much, and I was just kicking her when she was down. She accused me of stealing from a little girl. I simply told her that, in her own words, it's just a bunch of pixels on a screen. Thank you to everyone for your support. In the comments, not the asshole, but your daughter needs better security on her accounts. To be fair, that wasn't really the problem here. It's not like her cousin hacked into her account and stole all of her stuff. She left her account unlocked around her cousin because she didn't think that this would happen. Yeah, unfortunately, Opie's daughter learned early that you can't always trust family or people. It's a tough lesson, but better learned now. Trust and security are crucial, even with family. But alternatively, she learned that she can trust her mum to have her back, which is so important. Quote, I simply told her that in her own words, it's just a bunch of pixels on a screen. That is the perfect response. Congratulations on righting the wrong. What a hypocrite your sister is. It's only theft when it's from her daughter, not by her daughter. How to raise a spoiled brat. Sometimes sister will find out that she isn't doing herself or her daughter favors. Is Roblox one of those games where you can earn in-game currency? I think I've also seen gift cards, but things like that would not have been in the budget when I was a kid. I would have painstakingly had to achieve every in-game currency. That takes a lot of time. My heart ached for OP's daughter, especially because her aunt is an enabling piece of shit. OP's sister better not get upset. After all, it's only a game, and it's not like her daughter spent real money on it. You can spend real money on Robux, which you can use to get extras in all the games, and can also buy items for your avatar. I play only one Roblox game, and have probably spent over 6,000 Robux on it. Luckily, I use search points, so it's not money that I earn, but that is at least $60. I'd be beyond mad if a family member went into my account and traded all of my stuff. I totally get where the daughter is coming from, and this is from a 40-plus-year-old. And RuneScape taught me never to trust anyone, especially not all those goddamn scam numbers that keep calling my phone. I'm never answering a phone call again. Societal trust is out the window. Do not leave your house. As soon as you touch foot outside, you will be scammed. I'm just being silly, but, very good lessons learned by all. The only ones really too bad off in this situation are the niece and the, sister. But let's hope that with time, they come around and realize how much of a dickhead they appeared to be as a result of all of this, and they change their ways. Would I be the asshole here if I break up with my boyfriend when this year marks the 10th anniversary of the death of his wife? There's too much to say, but I'll try to make it short. I'm using the Google Translator for most of the things that I say, so I'm sorry. In short, I, 34 female, have been dating Leon, 42 male, for 2 years. My uncle became friends with Leon when they started working together, and he started coming to my family gatherings and birthdays. Leon is a great guy, and we got along instantly. My family always talked to me about Leon saying that he is a great guy. One day, Leon asked me out on a date, and I said yes, so we started dating. Leon has 2 children, 14 male and 12 male. His wife died in an accident 9 years ago. Here comes the problem. Leon always talks about his wife. I know it sounds ugly to complain about it, but I don't say this with jealousy. I mean this uncomfortably. He mentions her in intimate moments of our time, such as when we finish having intimacy or when we're having a date. Sometimes he just starts telling me random anecdotes about his wife, and I just sit there feeling like I'm sleeping with a married man and I'm the side piece. I don't ask for much, just to have a date where it's just me and him, a date where I don't feel like someone's lover with a man who talks about the things that we like. He goes to a psychologist, so according to him, he's working on getting better on his grief. But I doubt it very much. I'm not the first girlfriend he had after his wife passed away. He's still in contact with his wife's family, which is obvious. They are the grandparents of his children, and I've met them in person only once because all they did was tell me how much Leon and his wife loved each other and treat me really bad. I remember that they put a video with photos of Leon and his wife when they were married while I was there, and I was just standing there like this, awkwardly, because they didn't even give me a chair to sit on. I think in their minds it's cute to me to see my boyfriend with his wife. I don't know. It's not cute. It's weird. He always says in front of me that she was the love of his life. I find it cute, but when I think about the future, I'm just like, do I really want to get old with a man who is making it clear that he will never love me? Is that the kind of love that I want? I want to be the only one for my future husband. One time I took him to my favorite place, and he just said, "It's beautiful. I wish my dead wife was here so we could show her this. You two could have been good friends." It's like being a third wheel in my own relationship. I can tell you a lot of stories like this. A lot. We've talked about this, and most of the time he just says that he just does that without thinking. But then he seems to forget about it and goes back to his usual behavior. And I'm just so tired of it. The one time I talked about this with my family, I was told that a real woman wouldn't be jealous of a dead woman. I'm not jealous, I'm uncomfortable. And would be happy to be with a man who has loved another woman like that and expect him to love me almost the same. That I shouldn't expect him to love me in the same way since all love is different, and that I should just be empathetic and supportive of him. I listened to them, but nothing got better. I have been feeling so much pressure to go through with this that I can't take it anymore. Anyways, I stopped listening to my family and finally talked with my friend who is a psychologist, and he told me that his behavior is not healthy for anyone and that I should think for myself. She texted me, "Good for him for loving his wife so much, but you don't deserve to be used as an emotional support doll." And she's right. I have decided to cut off the relationship, but this year marks 10 years since the death of his wife. Not only his family, even my family are helping them to host a family reunion in honor of her with the things that she likes. I think that it's a nice thing to do, but I'm totally ready to end the relationship, but I'm afraid that I'm going to look like the bad guy in that story. The 10th anniversary is in July. I want to end the relationship now, but I feel that I will be a piece of shit if I do that this year when he is so vulnerable. And even my family is pushing me to act like if I was his wife's best friend. He even says that his wife and I would be good friends if we had met. Why would you want your wife to be best friends with the woman that you're sleeping with right now? I don't know, it's just too weird. I think I'm insane because everyone around me sees it as something cute. In short, I don't know if I should break up with him right now or wait until, I don't know, next year? Would I be a piece of shit if I break up with him now? In the comments, Tofu Annihilation says, "Not the asshole. Every year will be the anniversary of his wife's death." Man, this is the most honest and correct statement for this situation ever. Just get it over with now. It'll be worse if you wait, especially if it's the day after. Pull the band-aid and get it over with. Exactly. Whenever she does it, she would be the bad guy because his grief and love is going nowhere. OP, don't prolong your torture any longer and just pull the plug. This guy is not ready to be in a relationship, and I don't think he ever would be ready. Not the asshole. Not the asshole. I'm not suggesting that he should forget about her or undermining his grief, but why get a new partner if all you're going to focus on is your late spouse? OP says, "I think the same. His last ex-girlfriend probably went through the same thing now that I think about it. Please break up with him and ignore everybody else around you and just focus on doing nice things for yourself." OP also says, "He goes to therapy and has even taken me many times to his wife's grave until I asked him not to take me anymore because I don't feel comfortable with it. I know he goes to visit her grave a lot. And yes, I think my family acts that weird because my brother goes through the same situation with his wife and they think that I want the same thing." Did you ask him why that relationship ended? OP says, "He told me that it was because his ex-girlfriend hated when he talked about his wife and didn't respect her memory. At the time, I believed him, but now I think that the girl maybe was feeling like I do. He once told me that he mistakenly called his ex by his wife's name." Yeah, OP, I'd do exactly what everyone else here is saying and just break up now, because if it's happened for the past 10 years and still continues, and it's the exact reason why his ex broke up with him, it's not going to change. If you're just going to accept it and put up with it for this long, he's not given any reason to change his behavior. He just continues to put band-aids on his grief and doesn't actually fix anything or change anything in his life. He really needs to work on himself and confront that grief and move through it and accept it. But instead, he's using you as just an effigy of his dead wife, it feels like. But not even that, he continues to just trauma dump on you. That's really messed up and really not okay. I'd be as uncomfortable if I were you, and I wouldn't even put myself in that situation. I would have left a few months into the relationship with him continuously bringing it up. And now, onto the updates. A few people who lived the same situation messaged me, and that really helped me to feel understood. I finally talked with all my friends about everything he did. I always avoided doing that because I knew that they were going to tell me that I should leave him, but I just ended up being trapped by everyone else's words. We didn't love each other, and that's obvious, even if he says he doesn't think so. Yes, I actually posted to get approval. I don't know how bad that is, but I needed to know that I was doing the right thing and that I'm not crazy before I said the truth to my friends. The next day, I finally talked to Leon. I really needed to break up at that point. He came to see me at my house, and I told him that we needed to talk. I got straight to the point, saying that I wanted to end the relationship, and he instantly asked me what he did wrong. We have literally had this talk before, and he does know what things make me uncomfortable. I was tired, so I just proceeded to list everything that he did. How he never defended me from his ex's in-laws, how he never made an effort to stop naming his wife all the time, even though I told him 1,000 times that it made me uncomfortable, how he makes me feel like I'm the third wheel in my own relationship, how in all our dates, he just ends up talking about his wife, how we can't have an us moment, etc. He apologized, saying the same thing as always, that he doesn't realize it when he does that, and we've had this discussion before many times. But this time I told him that I want to break up. I also told him that I don't think his therapist is helping, but Leon just said that he is helping him, and feels mentally well. Leon told me that we could start going together with his therapist because he knows that it can be hard for a woman to be with a widower. Jealousy is a normal thing in these kinds of cases. And that really triggered me. I've let both his family and my family make me believe that I'm a crazy, jealous woman. I've even let blogs about widower couples fill my head with things like, you just have to be empathetic. Don't expect him to love you that fast like he loved her. He's always going to love his first wife more, so just get used to it and just be a good woman. He will love both of you at the same time, etc. I've let myself be trampled on just because everyone told me that getting over a loss is difficult, and I have to be empathetic and think about the other. I am so damn tired of it. I'm just tired of being empathetic. I've been dragging this thought for months, and in that moment, I just burst out. We yelled at each other. We said a lot of things to each other, but at the end of it all, he went on with his mentality that I'm wrong and I'm just jealous. He said that I clearly don't feel ready to date a widower, and I ended up being like his ex. I told him that he's an effing hypocrite, that he's filled his mouth with shit just talking about his ex-girlfriends. Once Leon told me that he called his ex by his wife's name by mistake, but now I'm sure that he treated her like he treated me. He probably took a submissive woman to fulfill the void and took us as sex dolls. None of that echoed in his mind, because he left my house saying that I'm just jealous of a ghost and that I disappointed him. I'm fed up. I'm so angry while I write this. As soon as he left the house, I sent my mother a message saying that I'm not going to live the same life of my sister-in-law, living in the shadow of a woman who is no longer in this world. I don't want to live thinking that I just need to be a good person for someone else and not for myself. They should have empathy for me and not for a man who is not even their family. I told her that I'm tired of being pressured and I don't care if I die single. I'm sure they don't care about how I feel, and in the end, they will keep saying that I have a cold heart like always. But I don't want to not care about that anymore. My friends are staying at my house to keep me company, and I can finally get all the accumulated shit out of my brain with them. I don't feel good about being second, and I know that I will always be second in these kinds of cases. I don't want to replace the place of the first wife, and I know that even if I wanted to, I never will. I know a lot of people feel good with that kind of relationship. I know many people like to live with the mentality of, I can change him or her. But not me. Life is too short to continue living this shit and waiting for the day that he will move on. Maybe I'm really cold-hearted, but I'm surely not that empathetic for this. I want to be greedy for once in my life, and be the only one in the life of a man. If his wife were alive, he would clearly never choose me. He wouldn't even look at me. I don't like that kind of love, and I had a really hard time accepting that I don't want that kind of love for myself. Maybe another woman will help him change, but I don't. I don't have the patience for that, and I finally decided to choose myself. I feel like I'm still young, and I can wait for a man to have me as the first choice in his heart. I hope Leon can overcome his traumas and be happy, but not with me. Someone messaged me that I don't deserve his love, but what love are we talking about? I'm just a sex doll at this point. For now, he's not going to change and doesn't want to change, but that's not my business. I'm not a bedroom therapist anymore. I'd rather be single forever than falling again into that. I want to start more therapy and Pilates. I'm still obviously affected by all of this, and nothing really changed. Nothing would change that fast, but I'm just happy that I'm free now. For now, I just wanted to vent, so I'm sorry if everything sounds too aggressive. In the comments, Saint Blaze says, quote, I've even let blogs about widower couples fill my head. This is awful advice. Is the widower couples community normally this toxic? According to my mother, yes, in some. At least back then. She was widowed when she was 29. She took her time to grieve and went to therapy. This is something we've talked about since my mum was always positive about us getting all the mental health support that we needed. Anyway, she mentioned that there are those who lost a spouse that would idolize their deceased partner. For my mum, she didn't think that my dad was perfect. He was human and he had flaws, but she missed him because she loved him. It was so bizarre that the people she knew saw their deceased spouse differently, so she felt weird that she didn't stick to the widower group. Also, my mum said that the annoyed feelings she had about my dad over silly things sort of faded over the years because he wasn't there to annoy her anymore, and she chose to hold on to the wonderful memories instead. It became just a sad memory of who he once was, a piece of the puzzle that made him whole. Death does weird shit, man. My parents were essentially living separate lives in the same house, and before they did that, they didn't get along much. I pretty much knew that my parents were going to get divorced eventually by the time I started kindergarten, but my mum died before I got to high school, and after that, I talked to my dad, and it was like they had this great love story. It was so bizarre. We never said anything to him to dispute it, but my sister and I would side-eye each other and whisper to each other privately like, what the hell kind of house did he think he raised us in? Because it certainly was not one of martial bliss. Lol. I still don't know if her death just rose-colored everything or he thought that he was doing us a favor acting like that, but it was just weird. It's baffling that the families can't tell the difference between jealousy and the full-on deification of a dead person that they have going on. None of this man's behavior is healthy, and he is surrounded by enablers. Makes me wonder what the OP's poor sister-in-law is being subjected to. If he's talking about his wife that much, he's not ready to be in a new relationship. Being a widow is hard, but you have to start the healing process on your own before dragging someone else into it. The asshole brings her up after they had sex. That's weird as hell. It's so obvious that this is beyond just honoring his late wife, and he's clearly not over her. Yeah, you know what? It's best that this came out anyway, because even in his apology, he didn't seem like he is going to change at all, and it's best just to tell him why you're leaving, what he's done wrong, and say, that's it. It's not going to happen. I'm done. I can definitely see it sucking in terms of your own family taking his side in this instance because, I don't know, they have a weird, warped perception of reality, but do what's best for yourself, OP, and thank God you have. I don't see the logic in continuously saying, you're jealous of the dead wife, it's so obvious, look, your sister-in-law's jealous as well. I don't know, if I was being treated like that from my family, I'd go low contact with them until they learn their lesson not to spout shit like that. Because I don't know, what do you even say to people being insane to you like that? They're not the ones in the relationship. How can they just make that call? Anyway, thank you for leaving and doing the right thing by yourself, OP. Our next post is by user FoxyLady33, titled, "Am I the asshole for not sticking up for my brother after my boyfriend called him out? I'm in a really tough spot and could use some perspective. I, 28 female, have been dating my boyfriend, Alex, 31 male, for about a year now. He's been wonderful and supportive, especially through some difficult times. One of those difficult times involves my relationship with my older brother Tom, 33 male. Tom and I have always had a complicated relationship. Growing up, he was the golden child, and I often felt like the family doormat. He would tease me mercilessly, make fun of my interests, and generally treat me like I was beneath him. Our parents rarely intervened, often brushing it off as typical sibling behavior or even enabling it by saying things like, "Boys will be boys," or "He's just joking, don't be so sensitive." This dynamic continued into adulthood. Tom still makes condescending comments, dismisses my achievements, and often expects me to drop everything to help him out, all without any gratitude or reciprocation. I've tried to talk to him about it before, but he just laughs it off or accuses me of overreacting. For context, I work at a museum in our city, a job that I'm really passionate about, but Tom often belittles. He thinks it's a waste of time and constantly tells me that I could do something more useful with my life. Last weekend, Alex and I were at a family gathering. Tom was in rare form, belittling me in front of everyone about my job. I was trying to brush it off as usual, but Alex wasn't having it. He stepped in and told Tom to stop treating me like a doormat and to start respecting me as an equal. Things escalated quickly. Tom got defensive, and the situation turned into a heated argument. Alex called Tom out on all the times that he's treated me poorly and accused him of being a bully. Tom fired back, saying Alex didn't know what he was talking about and should mind his own business. Our parents tried to defuse the situation, but ended up taking Tom's side, saying Alex was overstepping and causing unnecessary drama. Now Tom is furious with me. He says that I should have stuck up for him and defended him against Alex. He claims that by not doing so, I've betrayed our family and humiliated him in front of everyone. My parents are also disappointed, feeling like I should have controlled the situation better. Alex feels bad that things got so heated, but he stands by his actions, saying someone needed to finally call out Tom on his behavior. I'm torn. On one hand, I appreciate Alex standing up for me, but on the other hand, I feel guilty for not defending my brother in that moment. Am I the asshole for not sticking up for my brother? Should I have done something to defuse this situation? Edit to add, I wanted to add that part of why I didn't defend Alex more strongly is because whenever I did try to say something in his defense, my parents just bulldozed over me. Every time I tried to speak, they would yell over me, which brought back all the feelings of clamming up like I did when I was younger. It made me freeze up and just stand there, especially since it seemed to only make Tom even angrier. I felt trapped, not knowing how to diffuse the tension as it got worse and worse. I'm working on it, but it's not easy, especially in situations like this. By the end of the entire thing, I was just standing there crying, and Alex took me out to our car to go home. I've been fielding phone calls from my parents and brother since last weekend. I know I'm not responding to people, but I just posted this on a whim and just put it away. In the comments, No Kidding 1305 says, let me see. On one side, asshole brother belittling you and asshole parents backing the golden child. On the other, caring boyfriend who refuses to allow you to be disrespected. The scales don't even begin to match. Not the asshole OP, but you will be to yourself if you don't start demanding simple respect and basic courtesy. Are you serious? Why would you stand up for your asshole brother and not your remarkably lovely boyfriend? You're the asshole for not intervening on Alex's behalf. Seriously, OP should go no contact with Tom and parents and be done with them. You're the asshole for not backing Tom, but for not standing with Alex. You hung him out to dry. How is he supposed to respect you when you flake on him at the worst time? He was willing to stand up for you against your whole family, and you backed off. He's a keeper. You, though, I'm not too sure. OP was like, I've lived with this mentally draining situation with people who do not stand up for me ever. The first time someone did stand up for me, I was shocked and froze. You're a bad person. Alex deserves better than someone like you. Yes, exactly. Freeze response. It can be overcome. Not the arsehole. Your boyfriend's a keeper. Ugh. I grew up with the same relationship. Even now that I'm best friends with his wife, he still does it. I asked my husband not to get involved, and he holds his tongue very begrudgingly. When my brother starts on every holiday, it's always a mess, and I'm always the one in trouble because I defended myself, and he was just joking, it's how he is. You're so sensitive. We leave at the end, and my husband is angrier about it each time. I always ask him, did I do something wrong? And his response is always, no, your brother is just awful. I love that your boyfriend finally had it. The only thing you did wrong was kind of hang him out to dry, but I also know that I wouldn't have had the balls to stand up to anyone in my family like that. I can anywhere else, but those situations sting. I'm sorry, I don't wish that on anyone else. It sucks. It is constantly walking on eggshells. And back up to the post, there is a second edit. Hi all, I just woke up to more comments. I'm just writing this edit to say that I'm going to visit my Aunt Amy tonight to discuss what happened. She hosted the get-together and has always been someone that I can turn to for help or advice when I need it. She and my uncle usually do step in to diffuse these situations when they're around, but they were both in the kitchen when this happened. Aunt Amy understands the family dynamics better than anyone, so I'm hoping she can give me some clarity. Also, please stop DMing me saying that Alex should leave me. Alex has been incredibly supportive, and we're handling this together. I appreciate everyone's concerns, and I understand people not liking that I froze, but it's what happened. I love Alex, and he's been amazing for my self-confidence, but I still struggle with it around my parents and brother. And now, on to the update. Hi again, everyone. I wanted to write a quick update now that Sunday is over. I ended up talking to my Aunt Amy and Uncle Joe last night when I went over for dinner, as I mentioned. They've always been a safe haven for me, and it was really comforting to hear their perspective. Amy and Joe told me that my parents have always been wrong in how they treated me, and that the way that they let Tom belittle me is not okay. They said that whenever they tried to stand up for me, my parents would not let them see me and Tom. One instance they brought up really hit home for me. I remember not getting to see Aunt Amy and Uncle Joe for a few months after my mum and Amy got into an argument. This happened after Tom ruined some of my favorite books, and Aunt Amy tried to defend me. She told my mum that it wasn't fair for Tom to face no consequences, and that I deserved better. My mum got so furious at Amy's interference that she decided to cut contact for a while. I think I was 7. I didn't fully understand why I suddenly couldn't visit them anymore, but I remember being upset and even more isolated. Joe explained that this is why they always tried to take me on outings whenever they could. It was their way of giving me a break from the environment at home. It just seemed to hit me all at once while we were talking. They are the ones who took me to the zoo, a movie, or just a walk in the park. All my happy memories as a kid were never with my parents. Honestly, they are who I think of when I think of what a parent should be. After our talk, I've decided to go no contact with my parents and Tom for the time being. I need to focus on what I want and what's good for me. My aunt and uncle also promised they'd run interference for me so that I don't have to deal with them. Also, Alex proposed to me yesterday morning. I honestly didn't expect it, but I'm so happy. We're going to be visiting his family over the long weekend to celebrate, and my aunt and uncle are going to go with us. I don't know what's going to come of cutting my parents and brother out, but I'm glad that I'm doing it. This will be the only update that I give on this on Reddit. Anything else will remain between myself and my family. In the comments, Informal Witness 444 says, "Not the arsehole. Congrats on your engagement. It sounds like you made the right decision to cut out the toxic influences in your life. Your Aunt Amy and Uncle Joe seem like wonderful, supportive people, and it's great that you have them in your corner. Focusing on your happiness and well-being is the best thing that you can do right now. Enjoy your time with Alex and his family. You deserve all the joy and peace that comes your way. Your aunt and uncle are real ones. They are your real family. Cutting off your parents and brother might be hard at first, but I guarantee that you'll be able to breathe easier the longer that they are out of your life. Tom accuses OP of betraying her family, yet he's the one who has constantly and relentlessly bullied and undermined OP. And frankly, OP's immediate family doesn't deserve shit. I'm glad she has Alex to stand up for her and to show her that she is worth standing up for. She used to be so sweet. Doormat. The sad part was her posting because she felt bad for not defending Tom. There are way too many families that do this to their children. It is so effed up. People grow up not even willing to tell the waiter that they got the wrong food because they've evolved to avoid all conflict ever. We need a superhero that just goes family to family calling their bullshit and helping people stand up for themselves. Raising my hand, the damage is deep and never fully subsides. Quotes, I've tried to talk to him about it before. I don't know who needs to hear this or doesn't know this, but talking to people only works when they care. If somebody is bullying or otherwise treating you like garbage, just cut them out of your life. You're never going to get through to them with words. You can get through with words if they're oblivious, or if they explode, but can have a reasonable conversation at other times, or if there's something behind the bullying. Some people are just trash and deserve to be burned by the trash fire they make of their lives. Am I the asshole for changing the walk down song at a wedding? I, 23 male, love to sing. I'm not American Idol good, but I'm considered a ringer at karaoke night by my friends. I was a groomsman at my best friend Travis's, 23 male, wedding to Taylor, 23 female. Taylor has been the exact opposite of a bridezilla. The only non-negotiable thing she had was that she did not want a track playing when she walked down the aisle, and she wanted a live band, which is a reasonable request. They had Enchanted by Taylor Swift as their walk-down song, as it was the song that he proposed to her during one of our karaoke nights. Well, the day of the wedding comes, and the lead singer of the band ends up passing out during rehearsal. She had to leave to go to the hospital. As Travis couldn't see her, I had to go inform Taylor through a bridesmaid. Bridesmaid comes back and states that while Taylor was empathetic and she understood, she was still adamant about no tracks. She asked if I was willing to sing in place, but I told her that my voice wouldn't fit the song that she wanted. The bridesmaids asked me to do whatever I needed to do and try to make something work. I spoke with the band, and I asked if they were able to learn True by Ryan Cabrera, a relatively simple song within an hour's notice, and a song that I know my voice can handle. They were willing to, and after a quick readjustment rehearsal with those awkwardly walking down the aisle, minus Taylor, the wedding happened. I performed the song, and although somewhat confused, Taylor seemed very happy. I then take my place in my position as a groomsman. At the photos portion, Taylor came up to me and jumped me with a hug, thanking me for stepping in. She asked why I changed the song, but after a brief explanation of how my voice wouldn't have worked, she understood, and she said she was happy that I chose that song. Travis, on the other hand, was not very talkative to me. After the reception in the following days, he ghosted me. After finally having enough, I went over to his place to talk this out. This is where all hell went loose. He was very upset with me for changing the song, knowing that it was Taylor's favorite song, and that I couldn't have sucked it up for literally 5 minutes. I defended by stating the following. 1. I was following Taylor's one request for no track music. 2. My voice would have made any of the video footage taken ruined because the song didn't fit my voice. And 3. I chose another song that I know he and Taylor loved and that I could actually sing. He basically removed all that by stating that I should have done what was requested in the first place. As soon as I mentioned how Taylor didn't mind, he kicked me out. Several people are divided. Our friend group, aka the groomsmen, are taking Travis's side and stating how I'm the jerk. The bridesmaids, Taylor's friends, are defending me for choosing a song that I could sing and was still wedding appropriate. Taylor has remained silent about this, as she is Travis's wife, but knows that I did what I could. I genuinely don't know what to make of everything. Am I the asshole? In the comments, Dramatic But Aware says, not the asshole. You were put in a tough situation and did the best you could with what you were given. Beyond the fact that singing a song you could actually sing seems like the right decision, you do not owe it to anybody to suck it up for 5 minutes and embarrass yourself in front of a bunch of people. What I would do is reach out to both Taylor and Travis, apologizing, but not fully. Something along the lines of, I'm sorry I did not sing Enchanted at your wedding. I was put in a very difficult position, having to fill in for a professional at the very last minute when I am not a professional myself. I tried my best to make your wedding ceremony beautiful. I am truly sorry that my best was not good enough for you. I would keep that same narrative to your friends too. I tried my best, sorry my best was not good enough. The bottom line is that if your friends cannot appreciate the effort you made to save their wedding, you are better off without them. In the comments, why were you responsible for the band, and why was it up to you to figure something out? OP says, I did say that I was willing to fill in, but I couldn't get the song down. That's when I was given the go-ahead to fill in. I went to the other member of the band, the guitarist, and asked if he was willing to learn the song, and he was. Yeah, tough position with this one. You're kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't. And I think you made the right call, because I wouldn't want to be embarrassing myself at the wedding either. Like, if that's what you're comfortable with and that's the vibe that you want to go with, and you're that kind of person that's okay with, doing a little bit of ugly singing, karaoke style, that's completely fine. But I can't imagine ugly singing a walking down the aisle song would have gone down well either. I think they would have come down on you harder. But in that case, it's more on them saying, my hands were tied, you told me to figure it out, I did exactly what you said. And the old adage, I was just following orders. That one doesn't hold up well in court now, does it? It does not. You were damned either way in this one, I am so sorry. And now, onto the update. First off, thank you to everyone for your support and help for making me realize that I am not the asshole. Many of you have great points of knowing music and what songs are appropriate for vocal ranges. I did theatre from 14 until 22 and had taken vocal lessons. I even had a band in high school that was just for fun. Secondly, many of you may be wondering if I cut Travis off in the wake of this, and the short answer is no. Yes, he was a major Richard to me and said many harsh words, but we went through the runt of it in life when it really counted. I know many people cut off friends when it's clear they don't want you, but I'm more of a just let me know when you're free to talk person. Not to everyone, but the people I love. I went to Travis's place, with Taylor as mediator, to finally attempt to squash this feud. It was lengthy, but what sold the deal was this statement. T, I've known you since kindergarten. We've been through stuff no other duo has. And you know that I love Taylor as my own sister. Do you really expect yourself to believe that I would ruin your guys' special day over this? That really made him wake up. He apologized. Apparently, and I genuinely didn't know this was his, Taylor's, and her sister's favorite song. When she died from a stroke, Taylor was devastated. Travis made the song a new memory with the proposal, and the expected walk-down song was planning a surprise honor for Taylor's sister at the ceremony. When that didn't happen, Travis went into a deep anger when his plan didn't go through. I'll admit that I had told him that I was filling in for the singer. I didn't tell him that I was changing the song until the quick rehearsal before letting people in. He realized that I truly didn't know this and apologized. We are good now. Third and final update, I've been asked to consider singing for weddings, and I'm going to be. However, like I said, I am not a professional singer. So I'm only doing it for close family and friends' weddings. I got asked to do one for my other friends for this summer. Thank you all. In the comments, Fragrant Imposter says, oh man, I really hope your buddy takes this as a major lesson for his marriage. Jumping to conclusions and reacting before you get everyone's side explained is a bad strategy for marital communication. You've known the guy for ages, and he went straight to the, you did this on purpose to maliciously ruin my plans, before even asking. If he does that to his wife in the future, he's going to have a hard time keeping a healthy dynamic if things get bumpy. OP says, oh, trust me, he learned and is on a very short leash with everyone. Imagine how it would have gone over if he was a tenor, tried to sing the original song in falsetto. You want to ruin a special surprise moment? That'd do it. Another reason why communication is so important. It's good that things are cleared, but Travis really acts like an immature man-child. Hopefully this is a lesson for Travis, because jumping into conclusions is not a healthy response. My thoughts exactly. If he's going to act like a Richard to a lifelong friend over something relatively low grade, I'm guessing his wife is in for a world of issues when big life events pop up. Most of us were idiots in our early 20s, so I have hope that Travis will grow up. Happy wife, happy life, am I right, fellas? I really am glad that this was the conclusion that we got to the story, and not the train derailing and tribalism and blowing up a childhood friendship. I really do think all of this could have been avoided if Travis had said, hey, keep the enchanted song in there some way, somehow, because we're planning a tribute to her dead sister. I think that would have gone down a lot better for you, OP, if he had said that. You would have found a way to keep the song in. Do not attribute malice to what could easily be ignorance, which it was ignorance in this situation. You really did have your hands tied. You can't read Travis's mind. And what confuses me even more after all of this is that Taylor didn't even come in and say, hey, sorry about him, I'll sort him out. It was actually going to be a secret tribute for my sister. He told me that after the fact, but he's too embarrassed to say anything about it. I will defuse the situation and get an apology. Did Travis not even tell Taylor why he was so pissed off and how there was a tribute? I think Travis is the problem here. I think Travis really sucks at communication, and he's gonna learn a lot of hard lessons after this one too, if he continues that pattern. Our next post is by user ThrowRA2eBird, titled, My 20 male, ex-crush 20 female, is trying to end my relationship with my girlfriend 20 female after all these years. Why is she doing this? I've had a crush on this girl since elementary school. We were close friends, and I confessed my feelings for her when we were 13. We got together, but things changed in high school. She was always popular, but she became even more so in high school. She started to act cold and distant with me. She made me feel like I was not that special to her anymore. She probably thought that dating me would ruin her status or something. That's what I felt when I tried to talk to her in private. She would always be aware of her surroundings. And I was not popular. She dated and broke up with 3 popular guys during high school, and I was still not over her. Her third guy in high school left the country because his parents got a job offer abroad. Fast forward to college. In the first year of college, she dated a new guy, broke up with her third one, and I was still single. But my feelings for her started to fade. Since we went to different colleges and not seeing her every day, it helped me to cope with my feelings. I wish it had happened sooner, because it really affected me in high school. I was often lost in thoughts and distracted. I'm not complaining though. I had good friends who hung out with me and were really bros to me. But then, in the second year of college, I realized that I had feelings for this girl who was in my first year class. I never thought of her that way before, but we got to know each other better and better. We started texting, talking, and hanging out. We became official, and I was happy. My ex-crush started to be friendly with me again. She tried to get close to me, and I ignored her. Well, she didn't like that, so she told my girlfriend that I had a crush on her since childhood. She also lied and said that I was just dating my girlfriend to get back at her or something. My girlfriend was upset and hurt. She didn't believe me when I told her that it was a long time ago and that I only love her now. The more I tried to explain, the more she pushed me away. I hate what my ex-crush did to me. She sabotaged it. For what on earth was that for? Did she rekindle her love for me after all these years? I don't understand. I never sabotaged her relationship with those guys that she dated. I respected her wishes and set boundaries. How can I fix this? How can I not let my girlfriend break up with me over this? In the comments, Lirail1992 says, send ex-crush a message explaining in no uncertain terms that you are not now and never will be again interested in her, and her behavior towards the woman that you love has cemented that you don't even want to be friends with her. Tell her that you and your new girlfriend, with whom you are deliriously happy, will be blocking her and will be ignoring any further attempts at communication. And then show your new girlfriend the message. She never loved you. You were always her fallback plan if nothing else worked out. She's pissed you were no longer her fallback guy, so she seeks to ruin you into feeling worthless, and then she'll use your shit against you so you'll be hers until she finds something better. She's doing it because you were her safety backup, always there to boost her ego, liking that you hopelessly dreamed of her. She can't stand being replaced, even though she doesn't want you for herself. Take comfort in the fact that she will never be happy with any partner since there is a pus-filled boil where her soul should be. You need to message your ex-crush in private to gather evidence that she is just doing it out of spite. Otherwise, she's going to ruin the next couple of relationships as well. When you've got your evidence, go full blast on social media so everybody knows what a little conniving, jealous B-word she is. And now, onto the update. I decided to follow the majority of you and block my ex-crush from my life. I also circled the wagons with our mutual friends and told them all what she did. Most of them were supportive and understanding, some of them were surprised and disappointed in her. A few of them tried to defend her and said that she was just confused or jealous. I don't care about her reasons, she crossed a line and she hurt me and my girlfriend. I sent her a final message before blocking her on all social media. I told her that there is no such thing as me and her. I respected our time together as acquaintances when we attended the same K-12, nothing more and nothing less. I told her that I love my girlfriend and that she should leave us alone. I also told her that she needs to work on herself and stop being so manipulative and selfish. After I sent her the final message, I took a screenshot of it and sent it to my girlfriend. I wanted to show her that I was serious about cutting off my ex-crush and that I had nothing to hide from her. I also sent a message to my girlfriend and apologized for everything. I told her that I love her more than anything and that she is the only one for me. I told her that I blocked my ex-crush and cut off all contact with her. I told her that I understand if she needs time and space to process everything, but I hope that we can work things out. She replied to me and said she was glad that I blocked my ex-crush. She said that she was hurt by what she did, but she also trusts me and believes me. She said that she loves me too and that she wants to stay with me. She said that she needs some time to heal, but she is willing to talk to me and see me again. I'm so relieved and happy that she didn't break up with me. I love her so much, and I don't want to lose her over something stupid like this. I'm going to do everything I can to make her happy and secure in our relationship. Thank you again for your support and advice. You guys are awesome. In the comments, the Riker maneuver says, just to be clear, your ex-crush is 100% going to contact your girlfriend and attempt to start more shit. When that happens, and it will, stay calm. Try to get the ex-crush on speakerphone while your girlfriend is there and get her to admit what she is doing. What exactly did you have to apologize for, OP? It seems to me that you were just as much a victim as your girlfriend in this situation. OP probably felt guilt by association, feels that if they didn't do something many years ago before they got together with the girlfriend, she wouldn't need to have dealt with this conflict that stemmed from a former spark. In order to feel some semblance of control, people will go into that "I could have done X or Y and then it wouldn't have happened" mindset. OP just needs to realize that what happened wasn't predictable. It's not something they could have known would happen and tell themselves, the threat is over, we are fine and free. Could be like, I'm sorry that this happened in general kind of thing. That's what I figured. It's not necessarily your fault that people from your past showed up and acted like jerks, but apologizing for the mess they made is reasonable. She didn't necessarily want him, but she didn't want him to have any other woman in his life that he cared about more than her, because everyone needs to care about her most of all. Everyone was saying that she wanted him as a backup. No, she wanted him as her simp, her little lovesick puppy that would always be there to praise her and feed her ego. Exactly. I knew a girl like this in high school who had strung along a guy for so long, but she admitted to me that she would never date him. She just liked having him as her lapdog. God, being 20 was exhausting. This exact scenario happened to me when I was 22, and it was such petty drama. But in that instance, I was the new girlfriend. In my story, the ex-crush did cause a lot of problems, and in the end, my ex-boyfriend picked her and broke things off with me, only for her to immediately ghost him after she won. He came crawling back, but I told him to piss off. In the end, I was actually the person who won, because less than a week after we broke up, I met my now husband, and we've been together for a decade. All the petty drama in my life also seemed to melt away at the end of that relationship. I want you to want me. That is your role. That is your purpose for existing. I hope she leaves him alone. Depending on what is going on in her life, she may desperately need him back to fulfill his role. Am I the asshole for how I responded to my fiancé refusing to hyphenate his name? My 24 female, fiancé 29 male, and I are planning to get married in the next couple of months. We're realistic people and understand that arguments are normal in relationships. But recently we've started applying for our marriage license and the topic of last names came up. I said that I wanted both of us to hyphenate so we have matching last names. The reason why is because my last name is important to me as I'm the last one in my family with the name. My partner wasn't comfortable taking my last name, which I understood, but doesn't want to hyphenate his name. I asked him to clarify, thinking he didn't want our names to change, but he told me the women hyphenate their names, not the man. I was confused and clarified that we should both hyphenate, and he refused, saying, "That's not how it works." I asked him to think about it, as it was slightly important to me that we have matching last names. Here's where I think I turned into the asshole. This morning, my fiancé asked me to talk and said he was not changing his name as it made zero sense for him to, and my name wasn't really going to change when I did hyphenate. I was pretty upset, but left it alone. Later in the day, I spoke with him and said that I understand his point of view, but since we couldn't come to an agreement as to matching names, I would just keep my last name as it is now. He got upset with me and said that I was being obtuse, that I know that's not how it works, and we wouldn't be considered married if I didn't hyphenate. I argued that this was the best case scenario, as we wouldn't come to a solution that we were both comfortable with. We're trying to be civil, but it's becoming a sore subject, and we don't want to fill out paperwork while this is all hanging above us. So Reddit, am I the asshole for threatening to keep my last name as is? Edit, I'm adding this because it keeps popping up in the comments. He was raised Christian, and his parents are from America. All the women in his family have taken their husbands' names. I was born here and raised Catholic, but my family is Hispanic and migrated here when my mum was 14. Nobody in my family really changed names, but it led to problems like picking up kids from school because everyone had different last names. Despite our upbringings, neither of us are religious whatsoever, and we both have somewhat similar views on politics and such. Also to note, he said the word threatening, not me. I put it in the post because of what he said. In the comments, Andiel Xenon says, "So adding his name to your name isn't really changing your name, but adding your last name to his is? And you're not really married unless you change your name? I think your boyfriend's a little bit unclear on how this whole marriage thing works. Not the asshole. Keep your name and ask yourself what else he won't be willing to compromise on if he can't compromise on this." I didn't change my name when we got married, and my mother-in-law was so worried about how that was going to work. One weak argument she had was that airlines wouldn't know to seat us together. My husband looked her dead in the eyes and said, "If it's a problem that we don't have the same last name, then I'll change mine." The look on her face was priceless. One thing I will say as someone who kept my name when we got married is that border officers have given me some flack at the airport when traveling. One said to me, "How do I know he's not forcing you out of the country against your will?" My response was, "If you knew me at all, you'd know that he wouldn't be able to force me to do anything." He was pretty quiet beyond that, but I've made a point of keeping a copy of my marriage certificate in my wallet and just hand it over with all my other ID. I'm just learning today that my wife and I aren't even considered married. I thought we were married for the last 15 years, but we don't share the same last name. My life is in shambles. Not the asshole. You have to do what you want to do based on reasons that matter to you. He's also allowed to have his preference and opinions on the matter, but it just doesn't happen that way is, in my opinion, a pretty poor rationale to take. Newly married myself, and the wife asked if I'd be okay if she didn't take my name at all, which I was fine with since it's not my name that determines who she is to me or what our relationship is. It's not exactly traditional in any sense, but some arbitrary sets of rules made up who knows how many ages ago are not how I choose to live my life. Not the asshole. And tell him that it is absolutely not how it works. What rulebook is he reading? I doubt that rulebook exists. People do all sorts of things with their names now when they get married. What he's saying is that he wants to stamp his name on you, but he's not going to let you do the same to him. That's a legacy of a man owning a woman, and it is nasty. Yeah, I'm not seeing the word sexist very much in the comments, so I'm just going to say it. Things work how you make them work. OP should think long and hard about whether this is the life that she really wants. I have a feeling that the fiancé is going to try to pull rank on her as the man in the future. Red flag. For me personally, my parents never changed their names when they got married, and that never changed the fact that they were married. Only the divorce did. Very interesting line of thinking from the man in this situation, that he just stonewalls every kind of solution that she gives him, and that it's his way or the highway, and that everyone should just be on board with that. I agree with that last comment. I really do think you should think long and hard about whether this is the life that you really want. What else is going to happen in the future from here if this is a major argument that you can't seem to get past? There was no resolution to it. It's just agree with me, and there is no other solution. Just agree with me. I wish you all the best of luck in the future if you guys aren't able to problem solve big arguments like this. And now, onto the update. Thank you to everyone who commented their thoughts and judgments. I'm sorry it took me so long, but I have an update. Right after the post was made, we had a death in family. We both have been grieving and giving each other space and grace. Recently, we sat down to pay the bills, like we do every month, and I asked if we could talk. He said sure, and I brought up the last name argument and how I felt it went unresolved / had sour feelings remaining. He agreed that it didn't end properly, so we talked. Like all the comments suggested, I dove right in and asked why he had such problems with me keeping my name. He immediately apologized and admitted that he overreacted and acted like a child. He even apologized for calling me obtuse and said that it wasn't appropriate to call me names, no matter what. He said he wasn't sure why it bothered him knowing how important my name is to me, and he didn't communicate that very well. He told me it was 100% my choice if I wanted to keep my name, and that his opinions didn't matter. I then asked about his "that's how it works" comment, and it turns out that this one had a little more reasoning. Turns out because of the previous mentioned passing of the family member, who was ill at the time of the argument took place, he had more contact with his family than he usually tolerates, and you can probably guess where I'm going with this. He had a little birdie on his shoulder telling him that women always take the last name. Not sure who, but I have a couple of guesses. He usually is pretty resistant to this kind of blabbering from his side, but emotions were already high. He once again apologized, even saying he was a major jackass, as I'm not his property. Basically, in general, he apologized for being a jerk and would support whatever I want to do. We did talk a little more and establish how we would discuss frustrating things in the future and about healthy communication, and ended on a very positive note. Now, what I'm sure everyone is wondering what I'm going to end up doing, a couple of comments mentioned how some people replace their middle names with their old last names, and I really loved the idea, so that's what I'm going to do, as it was the option that I was happiest with. We get matching last names, and I get to keep the last name that was so important to me. Once again, thank you to everyone that commented and gave me their 2 cents. In the comments, HammersGirl86 says, so the compromise you were happiest with was him not compromising at all, you giving up your middle name and not keeping your family name in a way that would be passed down at all? How did he manage to convince you that that was any sort of compromise? That's wild. OP says, he didn't. I sat and thought about that option and really liked it. I'm not attached to my middle name whatsoever. I'm actually happy to be rid of it as it's a little old-fashioned, and I'm able to keep the last name with me while still having matching names with him. After thinking about it, I realized I was more upset about me specifically losing the name versus passing it down. How the conversation went was he told me why his situation bothered him, and then at the end, I revealed what I had decided, so zero convincing from his side really happened. If that's how you feel, and you're truly happy, then that's all that matters. You had just specifically mentioned how important it was to pass down the name since you were the last in your line. I wonder if or how your feelings will change if y'all have kids. Hopefully it's up for discussion at that time if you do feel it's important that your family name is passed to the next generation as well as his. OP says, "We thought of a couple of different ways to pass on my dad's lineage, which is one of the many reasons I'm so happy for this outcome. Feelings can change at any time, but I'm glad that we're able to discuss them openly. You can do whatever you want, of course, but I don't understand why some people feel like they must take their partner's last name in order to feel properly married. I kept my last name, and I've never felt like my husband and I are somehow less committed." And as for having the same name as your kids' arguments, my mom kept her last name, and it was never weird that we didn't share a last name. If anything, it kept the telemarketers at bay because I instantly knew that someone didn't know my mum personally if they were calling for Mrs. ... The best bit of advice that I ever got on the subject of marital surnames: change your name if it's an upgrade. My mother is like, what's the point of getting married if not to change your name? Like, you can do that without getting married. What about tax benefits and inheritance and legal rights? She seriously married my father just to take his shitty last name? I got myself a new name recently. It's so nice to tell people my last name and not need to spell the damn thing out. Is this where the trope of men never wanting to get married comes from? They don't see the point? If you want to be utterly practical, the man and children should take the wife's name if you want to pass the name down the bloodline. Lineage is traced most reliably along the female line, as there is never any question of maternity since the kid is born from the woman. Any man could potentially be the father, and paternity cannot be 100% confirmed without a DNA test. I'm not gonna lie, I was slightly confused too why the conclusion to all of this was that she changed her last name anyway, when that seemed to be the main focus of the original post. But fair enough if that wasn't what was actually on her mind, and she sorted her feelings out about that. At the end of the day, happy wife, happy husband, happy life, no more fighting. This is a very good conclusion to the story, and I'm glad that it's working out for the both of them. Our next post is by user Drive on Acid, titled, "I just got a message from my high school crush. I am 42 years old. I graduated from high school in 1998. I had a thing for this guy over 25 years ago. Actually, it was more than just a thing. I was head over heels for him. He had the most beautiful blue eyes. He was one of the cool guys. He had his own apartment and a convertible and a pager. He smelled like a combination of Polo Sport, wintergreen gum, and cigarettes. He listened to Dave Matthews Band, and he worked at Foot Locker. The last time we spoke was in 2007. I have no idea why he contacted me today. Like I said, I graduated from high school over 25 years ago. Maybe he's dated all of the women in our hometown and is now trying to reach out to those of us who have moved away. I have no idea why I'm posting this. I just needed to share this really weird information with people who might understand. It's just so friggin' weird. I would have given anything for him to contact me out of the blue when I was in my 20s, but now, in my 40s, the last thing I want to do is date. At least, I don't want to date him. He has that special honor of being someone who I will always think is perfect, because the person I believe him to be is the person I created in my head when I was 15. We'll see if I decide to go meet up with him. I'll let you all know if that happens or not. In the comments, PS Gru says, "This is pretty common. I got a similar Facebook message after 30 years. Her timeline history was a bunch of memes about going through a divorce, moving on, and then taking a chance on dreams. My wife and I of nearly 30 years were not amused, and I had to politely say, 'Thanks for reaching out. I wish you well, but no.' I think nostalgia comes with this phase of life. I think for people who are out of a multiple decades-long relationship, the idea of somebody from your youth is less terrifying than a stranger. Definitely. I know a handful of circle-back happy relationships, You take all the good things in common and add mutual maturity. Can't blame him for trying. My guess would be that he just ended a relationship and got divorced and is reaching out to women from his past to see who's available. I've seen quite a few guys in their 40s do this when they realize how bad the dating pool is. It rarely ends well. My dad passed earlier this year. Within a month, his wife's ex contacted her saying he's heard she's available. Vultures. When my dad died, his buddy from his band came to collect some of his speakers and instruments, and in that process, informed my mother that he will drop by on Christmas and she can bake him a cake. That effing lack of awareness. This might be unpopular actually, and would like to see more posts like this. I really want to talk about the political and cultural issues that affect women, but can we also just gossip? I love low-stakes drama about people that I don't know. Maybe there's another sub for that. OP says, "Thank you. That's all I think I wanted from this post. Some girl talk and gossip. You're right, this is very low-stakes drama. I'm not in any danger, I'm not suffering, it's just a really strange thing that happened." One of my students said, "What? He couldn't ask to hang out in high school? She's only in 7th grade and wise beyond her years." Then she asked me for help on her math homework and explained why her classmates made a bad choice about going outside during class today. It was a very interesting day all around. I do love me some low-stakes drama in this one, and I can see both sides of the coin in this instance. Yes, the dating market is horrendous in this day and age, and the lack of reasonable third spaces has really destroyed a lot of dating prospects that we had back in the day. Here in Australia, I don't really talk to strangers on the street, and I would never really approach someone like that because, in my point of view, it's socially unacceptable. But when I lived in Belfast, the amount of times I'd have strangers just come up and start conversation out of nowhere was insane. And I wonder if that was just the norm back in the day. Did people you'd be sitting on the bus, strike up a conversation, it's all cool, and no one is like, "Get away from me, you freak." People really just be talking to anyone and starting relationships from there. And then, this OP having him reach out, him seeing that dating isn't the same as it was back then. I can't blame the man for trying, and I can't blame OP for feeling creeped out about it either. I just think the world has evolved so very fast, and people that grew up during the time that it was still socially acceptable to just go out and talk to people are suffering some major whiplash when they come into the dating world as it is today. And now onto the update, titled, "Well, this has taken an interesting turn of events. Update on the call that I got from my high school crush." I want to give you all a more complete picture of how massive of a crush this was before I begin. I first saw him when I was in the 7th grade and he was in 9th grade. That was 1994. After about an hour, I was head over heels. My first year of high school, I figured out where he would be and made a point to walk past him as often as possible. In the 10th grade, we had 2 classes together. Somehow we became friends. Probably because I was cute AF and he was a charming flirt. We sort of stayed in touch after he graduated, but I was more than happy to just leave him on that pedestal that I'd put him on in high school. After his message, I called him that evening. We talked for a little bit and then got off the phone. I asked why he contacted me, and he said he saw a post I made on Facebook and just thought about getting in touch. Okay, fine, I'll accept that. For a couple of weeks after that first phone call, 15-year-old me was absolutely in control. I felt like a teenager again, and it was awesome. Here's where things get really interesting. After a few days of texting occasionally, it got to the point of us talking on the phone every day after I get home from work. By the way, I'm a teacher, so I talk to my high school crush every day after school, and I find that hilarious. Then he told me that he really looks forward to talking to me every day. So I started texting "good morning" every morning, and he started texting back. We text every morning while I'm getting ready for work, usually right up until my first class starts. This has been going on for weeks. We tried to get together a couple of times over the past 2 months, but with the holidays, we've both been really busy. Which brings us to tomorrow. He's coming down to my house. I normally wouldn't invite a first date to my house, but I'm making an exception here. Mainly because I've still got quite a bit of baking to do before Christmas, and I really don't want to go out. We're going to order in a pizza and watch movies. I really want to thank all of you who commented on my previous post about how they had met up with someone from their youth when they were older and then met their husband, because I always figured that was just a trope in Hallmark movies. I honestly feel like I'm living in one of those right now, and it's kinda awesome. Updates: it's now Sunday. The high school crush came down to my house on Friday, and he spent the night. I'm planning to make a longer post soon because I know you are all incredibly interested, but I'm visiting family for the holidays. You'll have to wait until Thursday for my update, but I can tell you all that it's really good. And now onto the final update. I'm now dating my high school crush, and he communicates. I haven't been with anybody other than Mr. Right Now for the past 7 years since my fiancé died. He has been single since a very messy breakup with his ex 5 years ago. We are both out of practice with this dating thing. We've also both spent a lot of time and energy on introspection in those years. I know that I'm in a very healthy place to start dating again, and I believe that he is as well. We had a couple of conversations about topics that we both would have probably lied about and hidden in the past from other partners. Instead of doing that, on Saturday, I addressed the topic that I knew was a concern of his directly with him. I was honest and open. The topic was addressed, and we moved on. And then this afternoon, he did the same for me. I even said, "Look at us, healthy communication. We're so grown up." We're both in our 40s. We laughed about it, but then we agreed that poor communication has been an issue in past relationships. There have been a couple of other instances where we have communicated really openly and honestly, and oh my god, it is so sexy. For those of you who are looking for the juicy, salacious details, I'm sorry, I really don't have anything for you yet. We're taking it slow, but that doesn't mean that I don't want to climb him like a tree. We've had a couple of really good makeout sessions, a little under the clothes action. It's funny. I feel like we're moving at teenager speeds, and I'm okay with that. I have the intention of having him in my life for a long time. We will have plenty of time. I'm still nuts about him. I've absolutely told him the extent of my crush. I even played the song that was his song when I was 15 years old. It was a very vulnerable moment. I still smile when he texts and calls. Like, when I just go off the phone with him. However, I've been actively trying to separate the actual person he is from the perfect man that I created in my head when I was a teenager. It's kind of hard because he keeps getting everything right. I am really, really happy. In the comments, Amal Burge says, "I have dreams about my high school crush all the time. None of my exes ever show up in my dreams, but this guy, whom I haven't seen since 2010, is there all the time. I used to be afraid that it was pathetic for him to keep showing up in my subconscious, but this post, and these comments, are making me see that it's not so weird. The reason that he shows up might be that you never got the chance to resolve your crush for him while you did your exes." I'll, male 28, be missing the birth of my child. How can I support my girlfriend, female 22, during that time? My girlfriend's due date is January 28th, but the doctors are saying that the baby is too big and are recommending that she be induced this Tuesday. I'm currently in another country for work, but I was supposed to be back by the time of the original due date. After talking with my girlfriend on whether we should wait or not, we've decided that she will be induced on Tuesday. It really sucks, but it's really not in my control. My mum will be in the delivery room with her, and I'll be getting Tuesday to Thursday off so that I can virtually be there. With these circumstances, what's the best way that I can be there? Edit to add, guys, I am not allowed to leave my work at this time. Best believe if I was allowed to, I would have in a heartbeat. I want nothing more than to be there, and it stings that I can't. So please, that is not a valid suggestion. I hope you understand. In the comments, Squirrely Squirrel says, "Being on FaceTime is great. Make sure your mum is a genuine support. Send a present, maybe flowers, but also her favorite food. Arrange a cleaner or meal delivery for when she gets home. Have a Coles online delivery, and make sure that there are some Huggies and some formula in there too. Does she have a favorite cafe that delivers? Get her a voucher. iPantry is a great online food delivery service. Quick turnaround and much nicer than the average. Tell her you love her about 1,000,000 times. OP says, thank you so much for answering. Also, bring a little gift or something from your trip if you can. A little stuffed animal for the baby or something. My dad was away on business trips a lot, but he would bring back gifts and I've kept them all. Edit, I only thought of my childhood, but as others pointed out, bring her something first and foremost. As a mum whose now ex-husband brought the baby something but not me after a horrible labor, please remember to bring something for her. A brand new baby doesn't need anything, but she does. I'm not saying don't bring something for the baby. A memento would be great for later in their life, but the mum is the important one here. Personal experience here. You have it better than back in the 2000s because you have all these technologies. My dad missed my birth too because he was overseas working and we didn't have all this stuff. So you should FaceTime her every day, ask your mum to stay with her until you come back because it's a big change. My mum once told me that it wasn't too difficult being without my father because she had a big entourage around her. Her family and his family helping. That's the best you can do until you come back. Now, when you do come back, step up, do your job as a father, and bond with your baby. OP says, I'm very glad about it. At least I can be there with her in a sense. My mum is going to be with her afterwards as well, so it soothes me a bit that she at least is not alone. Did your girlfriend specifically ask for your mum to be there? They have a good relationship, right? OP says, yeah. We were going down the short list of people that would make her the second most comfortable for support, and my mom was the mom ultimately chosen. Being induced is intense. Talk with your mother about the support she'll be giving your girlfriend. Your mother will need to advocate for your partner if she can't do so herself during the worst parts. My partner kept me hydrated and rubbed my lower back, helped me take gas and air, as I wanted that for pain management for most of it. Things like that. I'm sure your mother knows anyway, but it's good to discuss and might help you feel more involved, as well as show care to your girlfriend, who is probably really scared of doing this without you. OP asks, what kind of things should I ask my mum? Like you said, I'm sure she knows. She's been through it 3 times herself, but it doesn't hurt to ask. Also, are there any things that I should ask her? This is our first child, so I'd like to know what I should be aware of. Make sure your girlfriend gets medical power of attorney for both herself and your baby to your mum in case she becomes incapacitated. This is really important so someone can make medical decisions. Can OP not make the decisions from overseas? Honestly, I don't know, but regardless, he would need medical power of attorney since they are not married, at least in the US. Also, he hasn't signed the birth certificate yet, so he may need it for the kid too. Not sure how that works. And I'm not sure how much I want to gamble medical decisions on FaceTime. I would want that person next to me and the hospital may agree. And now, onto the update. He's here. He was born on Wednesday. Everything went well, her and the baby are great, and there were no complications. They are at home now. God was on our side and our connection was stable, which allowed me to be there, quote unquote. The nurses and the doctor treated her well. They were all kind to me as well, given our circumstances. I completely froze just right before she started pushing. It was just me and her in the room. My mum was somewhere in the hospital, and I was half asleep. She just kept telling me the baby's coming out. I asked her if she was sure, never making that mistake again, lol. I think she pushed for about an hour, and it was just so surreal. It was so much going on, and I had to snap back into reality and just support her the best I could. My mom was great, and I can't even thank her enough. I'll be with them really soon. Thank you for the advice. In the comments, Similar Shame says, yeah, this sucks, but I live in a country where many parents miss their children's birth and other important milestones because of working abroad. And it sounds like OP tried his best to make it. I hope that OP and his family get better scheduling fortune. 100% the military does not care about these kinds of things. There's a chance that he's actively serving, and there's a chance that this is a training exercise. Or, hear me out, when he said termination, he meant it literally. He's working for an intelligence agency. As to what kind of work that OP can't just leave, my dad was in the military when I was born, and he was stationed half a world away. He wasn't able to come home until I was 4 weeks old. Back then, there was no Zoom, so he wasn't able to be there to support my mum at all. My grandfather was deployed when my grandmother was 7 months pregnant with my dad. She joined him after she gave birth, was a base where families could join, but was not allowed to go while pregnant. Have those commenters never heard of the military? If OP is stationed overseas, what's he supposed to do? Order them to get him a plane? I think they're all assuming that OP has some kind of office job where he could just hail a taxi and get to the airport, consequences be damned. What if he's in the middle of a war zone? That could just be why he's tight-lipped about his job. Our next post is by user Sleepy Sleepy Chick, titled, "Am I the asshole for refusing to apologize for snapping back at my friend's sister?" For some background, my 33 female friend Beth, 34 female, has an older sister Jill, 38 female, who has hated me since we first met. She always called me a weirdo freak and said that I deserved the bullying I got at school because I was such a dork. I stopped visiting Beth's house because of Jill and didn't see her again until Beth's 18th birthday, where she told people that I was harassing her boyfriend. I had literally said hello to him, and that was it, because I was too ugly and weird to attract my own guy. Thankfully, she moved away not long after, and I was just glad to be rid of her. Now, Beth and I arranged a dinner reservation with the other three in our group: Liz, 33 female, Kelly, 34 female, and Megan, 34 female. This was our first real chance to see each other in over 2 years, due to a number of reasons, and we were all looking forward for a chance to catch up. Beth offered to drive me and Kelly with her to the restaurant, since neither of us can drive and I have CFS and several types of chronic pain, so traveling isn't easy for me. We caught a bus to Beth's flat together, but it was Jill who answered the door, which shocked us both. Beth hadn't told us that Jill was visiting, and we'd have appreciated a heads up since neither of us have a good history with Jill. Still, we were polite. Kelly said hello and complimented Jill's dress, and I said, "Hi Jill, nice to see ya, how have you been?" Jill completely ignored Kelly and turned to me and said, "Better than you, clearly. Still a pale freak, are ya?" I couldn't help it and snapped at her that at least I'm not a bitter hag still clinging to grudges that I started with a 12-year-old. Maybe it's time you grew up a bit. Jill immediately ran off screaming for Beth and said she's not taking us anywhere until that "see you in the Northern Territory" apologizes, which confused me and Kelly because why would she be taking us anywhere? That was when Beth came out and revealed her car was broken, so Jill was meant to be driving us, and I shouldn't have been so cruel to her sister, and that's just Jill's humor. Kelly called bullshit and said Jill is a bully, and she's surprised I hadn't snapped years ago, and told me that I'd better not apologize. I said I had no intention to, and Beth said, "Well, then you can make your own way to the restaurant," and kicked us out. Kelly and I called Liz and Megan to update them and said that we'd be running late since we now had to pay for a cab and they are split. Liz thought that I should just apologize because Beth is siding with Jill and it would cut the tension, but Megan thought that this was long overdue and Jill had it coming and Beth needs to accept her sister's actions have consequences. In the end, I refused to apologize and we got a taxi, only to find out that Beth was refusing to join us over what I said to Jill. This was a week ago, and Beth is now refusing to speak to any of us other than Liz, who told her that she said I was at fault until I apologized to her sister. Am I the asshole? On Beth and Jill, OP says, "Thank you. Liz and Beth's reactions to this whole thing had me feel like I was going insane, and Kelly and I were both really confused about why Beth didn't warn us beforehand. She knows that our history with Jill is not pleasant. To be honest, I'm seriously considering cutting Beth off for this if she keeps reacting this way. Thank you for your comment. Writing this all out has made me realize that I have been too forgiving of Beth over the years, especially where Jill is concerned. I think I will be cutting ties with her for sure." On their history, OP says, "Thank you for your comment. I said this in another reply, but Beth and I have been friends since I was 12, and she was one of the few people in our year group who didn't bully me. Since Liz, Megan, and Kelly are all friends with her as well, it's been easier to just put up with her. It's getting ridiculous now, and I'm seriously considering cutting Beth off for this and just dealing with the fallout. Who the hell holds on to 30-year drama? OP says, "It's honestly bizarre, but this is exactly the same as she acted when we were in school. I do not understand her at all, or what she hoped to get out of this." So you're saying nobody did anything when it was a 17-year-old picking on a 12-year-old? OP says, "Yeah, Beth and Jill's family acting like it was harmless fun, and my own family was so caught up with the in-school bullying, I didn't tell them about Jill's comments because, honestly, compared to what I faced at school, it was so minor. I've definitely had my eyes opened about Beth and Liz because of this, and I'm thinking it's time to cut them off. Beth definitely, Liz I will give a final chance to apologize. What's so great about being her friend anyway?" OP says, "I've been sat thinking about your questions for the last few minutes, and I'm sad to say I cannot think of a single thing that I've missed about Beth in the 2 years since we last saw each other. Our group? Sure, plenty, but Beth herself? No. As we've grown older, we've clashed more and more, especially about my health, and I've bit my tongue a lot for the sake of our group. But I think I need to have a quiet word with Meg and Kelly to let them know that I'll be cutting contact with Beth and Liz." Sure Acadia says, "Not the asshole. She is a bully and always was. Do not apologize under any circumstances. Beth knows exactly who her sister is and still sided with her when Jill was clearly in the wrong. Shame on Beth. Beth didn't have your back and she is not a good friend. She is an asshole, Jill is an asshole, and you deserve better." And I should have added, Beth isn't just an asshole for not having your back, it's also inexcusable that she ever allowed her sister to talk like that, and baffling that she expected you to apologize. It always hurts to lose a friend, but you are truly better off without Beth in your life. OP, Beth has been this way for 21 years and nothing has changed. What makes you think it'll change now? OP says, "Good point. If sunk cost fallacy can apply to friendships, I think I've been using it. Time to give it up, I guess." Not the asshole. She can give it, but she can't take it. That's the sort of thing that you don't apologize for. And Beth is an asshole too. Gosh, what a pair. 38 and running to 34 because another 34 was mean to her? This is a playground dispute and you called it. I'd be wary of Beth. She caused this by not telling you that Jill was going to be there. Agreed. And then she backed up her sister, who was clearly in the wrong. I almost hate to say this, but one thing I've realized over the past few years is that the people who tell you not to apologize because it's a sign of weakness have a point. I used to think that it was some borderline sociopathic power play thing, but really it's just about not being walked on. In this case, OP did nothing wrong. So apologizing would just be admitting, I'm a doormat and you can walk all over me. Don't get me wrong, if you did something that merits an apology, you should apologize, but don't do it just to keep the peace or some nonsense. And now, onto the update. Hi folks, a lot of you asked me to update after my last post to let you know what I decided to do. Thank you to all the commenters who let me know that I was not going crazy. Liz and Beth's insistence that I apologize was making me second guess myself, so I appreciated your help. Most of you also pointed out Beth's reaction was enabling Jill, and Liz's reaction was expecting me to roll over in the name of keeping the peace. I've come to realize that this has been a pattern for years in our group. Playing peacekeeper to Beth and Liz for the good of the group, not only for me, but for Megan and Kelly as well. So, the update. I still haven't heard from Beth, but Liz has been bombarding me with texts and voicemails saying I was out of order and owe all three of them an apology for how I acted and for continuing to drag things out. She even suggested, as a way to start making it up, I should take everyone, including Jill, to a restaurant and pay for everything. I have no desire to spend what would be a month's rent on their drinks bill alone. Not to mention, I don't feel that I've done anything wrong. Frankly, that she's even suggested this only persuaded me more to cut her off. I met up with Megan and Kelly last night and told them that I will not be apologizing to Jill. Frankly, she's stuck in her high school mean girl era, and I'd be glad never to see her again. I also said that I'm sick of swallowing my feelings to avoid tension because Liz and Beth never apologize, and I'm cutting contact with Beth and Liz. I was expecting protests about breaking up the group. I didn't expect Megan to admit that she's only stuck with Liz for so long because, like me with Beth, Liz was one of her only friends during her bullied years, and she didn't want to ruin our dynamic by acting out of turn. Or for Kelly to say that for years, she's been sick of Liz and Beth treating the three of us like we're inferior, and she was worried that if she spoke up about it, she would lose me and Megan as well. We all had a very overdue chat about how we all really feel about this group, and agreed that Beth and Liz are not true friends to any of us. Kelly and Megan showed me their messages from Beth and Liz, basically painting me as some kind of demon hell-bent on ruining their lives. I had to laugh at that one from Liz, reminding me both of how I ruined her wedding by not attending due to my selfish emergency surgery. This was 5 years ago, and I'm only now hearing that I ruined things, because some guests asked after my health at the reception and drew attention away from her big day. Clearly, I am an awful person for this. Anyway, we are completely cutting contact. We've saved our messages just in case, because I don't see Jill, Beth, or Liz disappearing quietly from our lives once they realize we're not going to play ball, but in the meantime, we're planning a zoo trip next week, so we will enjoy a day out free of drama. In the comments, Aquaventus says, "It's amazing what communication can reveal. That being said, it's obvious that Jill, Beth, and Liz have been keeping up this charade for years and have been benefiting from it. Now that everything has been revealed to OP, Kelly, and Megan, those three can cut off the other three for good and enjoy their lives without the unnecessary drama. Good for you. This is a truly positive update because you three have a lot of happy times to look forward to. Not the asshole. In all honesty, I would change all of your numbers. That way, you don't have to worry about them harassing you by using other numbers to get a hold of you." OP says, "Thank you for this suggestion. I'll pass it on to Kelly and Megan as well. At the moment, I've just blocked Liz and Beth, as otherwise I need to update all my medical stuff, work, friends and family, etc., and would prefer to not have that hassle. If they do start harassing me though, then I won't hesitate to change my number. Great job standing up for yourself, but be warned, they will throw a big fuss, possibly online. You might deal with some flying monkeys." OP says, "Thank you. We are battening down the hatches just in case. I'm anticipating flying monkeys, and we have warned my family and other friends of what's up, just in case anyone tries getting at me through them. Luckily, other than an old Facebook page that I used to keep in touch with a few friends and family abroad, my social media is pretty non-existent, so coming at me online isn't going to be easy. Kelly and Megan are both more active though, and are already removing contacts and blocking people known to side with Beth and Liz. We're doing what we can to stay ahead of things. I was over being a teenager when I was a teenager. I'll never understand fully grown adults who still act like immature children with an undeveloped frontal lobe. For some people, that is their literal peak. In high school, they were attractive, popular, people liked them, or didn't want to be bullied by them, which makes these people think that they are incredible people. Once they've lost those things, or other people outgrow them, or get tired of their shit, they've lost everything because again, that's all they had. So they hold on to their glory days thinking, look, I'm just as awesome as I was in school. Everyone else is wrong. I think my sister and my husband may be too close for comfort. 8 months ago, my sister moved back into town. A small backstory, she's not lived here in 10 years, as she originally left for college and never came back. We grew apart, we talked maybe once a year, and I haven't seen her physically in 4 years. I've been with my husband for 8 years and married 3. She has met him twice in the entire duration of my relationship with him. He's a quiet and serious man who only opens up in front of me and a few of his select friends. She was struggling to get a job here, so I thought that I'd be a good person and ask my husband if he could maybe help her find a job at his company since they work in the same type of field. Fast forward to current times, they actually work in the same department now. He's been acting more closed off towards me lately, but he claims everything is fine when I asked him what is wrong. We had our traditional family Christmas meal yesterday, and at first he tried to get out of it. This is not something that he's ever tried to do, and I was very confused by this. After some convincing, he finally agreed to come along. My sister pulled him aside a few times, and they were in a very deep conversation, as if the rest of us didn't exist. When I approached them every time, they both would jump a little, and when I'd ask what they were talking about, they would say, "A work project that's near deadline." I was feeling a little off about their behavior, but the one thing that got me the most was at one point he got up to go get himself another drink. She was sitting in a chair that was next to the kitchen door, so he had to pass her to go to the kitchen. When he was near her, she put her hand up and reached towards him, and he caressed her palm and lightly grabbed her fingers as he walked past her. She looked up at him with a big smile, he looked down at her and nodded his head. As soon as he was out of sight, she turned her head towards me and smirked at me. I later asked him what that was about, and he said, "It's just a high five." I said that it didn't look like a high five, and he said that's all it was. I've never had any reason to suspect him of cheating, but this has got me feeling on edge. I've been battling with myself to investigate further. Another thing is that he doesn't focus that strongly when he and I talk. It's always just short answers and lighthearted. They were having some intense conversations where he was hanging on her every word and giving her in-depth responses. In the comments, Redhead9390 says, "It seems like either they're beginning to cross into an emotional/physical affair, or they already have crossed that line. I know people don't agree with going through partners' phones, but I would. Something is clearly going on." OP says, "I've been contemplating going through his phone, and it's something I've never even thought of doing before. If you can get in there without him knowing, then I would do it. Take screenshots if you find anything, and play along so he doesn't delete anything." OP says, "If only he didn't keep it nearly glued to himself. He never leaves his phone unattended." Well, that's a sign as well. I never let my phone out of my sight. It's probably not the healthiest, but I'm not having an affair. As soon as he was out of sight, she turned her head towards me and smirked at me. Your sister just claimed your husband as her own in that moment, OP, and she made sure that you know it. I'm sorry, OP, but you deserve better. I hope the house is yours so you can at least throw her out. It is wild to me that sisters could do this. Sometimes you get a bad friend, but I could not envision hitting on my sister's partner or her doing this to me. We both owe each other our lives. The idea of trying to take a romantic partner is absurd to me. The fact he's acting more closed off towards you means that something is going on. He's starting to resent you, which is typically the first sign of an affair happening or in the process. He's pulling away from you. He's 1000% developed feelings for your sister. How could he not? They spend so much time together at work in close proximity. I'm so sorry this is happening to you. Jealous sisters and the desperate type steal boyfriends. OP says, "She is a very jealous person. She has to always be number one and the best at everything." That last comment by OP tells me everything that I need to know. This is a game for the sister. She is stealing the man off of you. She gave you that smirk and confirmed it at the party, OP. If they were trying to hide it, that wouldn't happen. Why he is so brazen about it and so obviously ignoring you is only anyone's guess, but it to me sounds like they're ready to break off with you and start their own life together. I would laugh so hard if that did happen, and then she ghosted him after she won and destroyed your life. It's a terrible thing that would happen, but it would be funny seeing karma in action. Maybe not so much karma for her, because at that point it also seems as though she's ready to be out of your life as well. And now, on to the update. I apologize for not updating sooner. I've been busy getting things sorted out. After my first post on a Tuesday, I'd asked my husband if he'd go on a little weekend getaway with me. We went up to a cabin in the mountains. Neither of us had cell phone service. I planned for that, as I wanted to make sure that I had his full attention. The first night went fantastic, and I almost forgot everything about my concerns with my sister. When we woke up the next morning, we cooked breakfast together, but he was rather quiet. I asked if he'd go on a little walk with me, which he agreed to. When we reached the lake, there were some large rocks that you could sit on. We both sat on the same rock, and we sat there in silence for what felt like forever. I finally got the courage to bring up the concerns I had with my sister and him, and his face went white. He admitted to falling in love with my sister. He said that it all started because of how much they have in common. They spend more time together at work than he does with me at home. He said he feels like he can talk to her about anything, and it never gets tiring. He said he's never felt more alive than he does when he's with her, and they started having a physical affair in October. The emotional affair began in June, after working with her for a couple of months since the end of April. He apologized for hurting me and deceiving and betraying me. I asked him what he wanted to do about it, and he said that as much as he knows that it will hurt me to say, he no longer is in love with me. The most painful thing I've ever heard in my life is when he said that the way that he feels for her made him realize that he's never once felt that way for me, even at the time when he loved me the most. He said it's not comparable by any measure, and he doesn't feel right staying married to me. We are splitting in agreement that the marriage is over, but yes, I am heartbroken. They have both applied to transfer jobs to a different city with the same company, and he offered to let me keep the house. I told him that I didn't want the house because it reminds me of him and us. We have split the finances, and he is giving me more money than he is taking. We are getting ready to list it for sale, and I've been packing and doing odds and ends like painting. He said I could keep the full amount of the house sale. New carpet and flooring comes tomorrow, and the movers come this afternoon. I found a small house for myself to start fresh, but I know that it'll take some time for me not to be so heartbroken. My sister, on the other hand, is not handling it as kindly as he is, and she is gloating. She even accidentally sent me a photo of both of them where you can tell she is in heaven because she won him away from me. She changed her profile picture to a picture of her taking a selfie of herself, smiling very smug, as he is kissing her forehead. I unfollowed her on TikTok because now she's posting videos and photos of them together. Some of them are from months ago, and it kicked me in the heart. I asked him if he could please ask her to stop, and he said he'd talk to her about it, but nothing has changed. I have removed myself from social media for now, except from Reddit. My mother is favoring my sister's side, saying that she's not posting those things to hurt me, and that my sister deserves to be happy. My mum said that it's my fault for looking, and I need to stop being so petty. My father is taking the white flag, and said he'd like to stay out of it. He said it's not right what my sister did, but she's still his daughter. He said he won't accept their relationship, and he is here for me whatever I need, but he won't be in the middle of this. I respect his decision on that, and I'm sure it's not an easy place to be in. Thank you all for the kind words and all of the advice that was given. I probably didn't add everything, but my brain is kind of foggy at the moment. Edit. For those thinking that this is unrealistic because it was magically resolved in 18 days, it is far from resolved. They are moving to a different office because he said he feels guilty and doesn't want to be near me. They have not transferred yet because they can't for a while due to a lack of openings. I worded it wrong, which is my fault. I wanted to update as much as possible to try and put closure to this for those asking for an update. Also, I am no contact with all of them except my soon-to-be ex at the moment, and will be for a long time, if not forever. I will be no contact with him after the divorce. In the comments, Practical Reindeer says, and they'll all wonder why they never see OP again. I can't wait for an update when it's known that either sister or soon-to-be ex-husband has cheated again. I wish OP peace. It will happen too, because the sister's gloating makes me think that she faked who she is as a person to get the husband away from OP as some prize. That will wear off, and she'll be left with some guy that she doesn't really like, and will be off banging the next big prize. I hope so. He deserves to feel every bit as miserable as OP does. I hope the sister plays him for long enough that he is fully invested 100%, and then she does the same thing to him that he did to OP. The sister is the type to never really be happy regardless of who or what she has. That sort of behavior is done out of spite and self-loathing. But the husband is hopeful. I hope he is effing crushed. My heart breaks for her. Finding out about an affair is bad enough. He didn't need to kick her while she's down. The parents and sister are trash and should be taken out. I will never understand how a sister can do that to a sister also. That's like double whammy betrayal. A spouse and sibling. One of the few people in life that is supposed to have your back. It's just horrid. The sister is openly rubbing it in her face too. That's just evil to me. I'm sure family events will be lovely as well. I have a feeling the family will tell her to get over it, and she'll either be forced to watch them together or cut out her family. Here's to hoping their relationship is as wonderful as they are, because they deserve it. Lol. They'll have great family events. OP won't be invited or won't be attending. The rest are gonna have a great time together because they all completely lack morals. And when they both start cheating on each other, the parents will be so shocked. I just feel so terribly bad for OP in this instance, but I think at the same time, like, what can you realistically do? I don't really know what the solution for OP is, besides exactly what they've done here. This is a terribly awful fate that I wouldn't wish on my worst enemy, and yet it happens, and it happens a lot by the sounds of it. All I hope that comes of this is that she does cheat on the ex-husband, and he does get the karma that is coming to him. Otherwise, again, life just sucks, and I hope that OP can move on and heal from all of this, and enjoy life, no contact with her family, because I don't see how you could ever join their life again, knowing that they all supported this. Our next post is by user Emergency Swim, titled, I told my sister to go ahead and off herself, and I don't regret it. I'm 24, and my sister Christy is 25. I hated her for a time, but now I just don't care. We were raised in the same house by the same parents, but treated completely differently. Christy went to private school, was chauffeured around by our stay-at-home mother, and was given a hefty allowance. I went to public school, rode the public bus, and walked everywhere, and never had an allowance. No extended family would say anything beyond claiming my parents and sister loved me, that I have to understand that it wasn't their place, and that maybe things would be better if I tried harder. I hated them just as much as I hated my parents. Christy mocked me relentlessly growing up. She was the pretty one and the smart one. If I got upset by her mocking, I was told I'm being sensitive and that it was sibling love. If I said hurtful things right back, I was grounded because I took it too far. I wasn't allowed to outshine her, I wasn't allowed to have friends. My clothing was policed by her, and the few nice clothing that aunts and uncles would get me would be replaced with frumpy and unattractive clothing. It would end up in her wardrobe. My parents would back up Christy, saying I couldn't pull it off, and that it looks inappropriate when I wore it. The rest of the family, the people who gave me the clothes included, would compliment how good she looked and pretty much just validate Christy. I know for a fact that I am and have always been attractive. Even in those ugly outfits, I managed to get asked out on multiple dates and got a boyfriend in sophomore year. Said boyfriend knocked up Christy our senior year after cheating on me with her since I got my early admission letter and was neglecting him and the family. She told me the day before my graduation, claiming that he was going to marry her and that they were in love and that it grew from me abandoning them both, blah blah blah. Our mother was there, and because I didn't really react, she thought that I was being a good sister and said she was so proud of me. I didn't cry about it. I just packed up my car when everyone was asleep, skipped my graduation and the supposed party that was planned, and I left. My only stop was the police station where I gave them my info, told them that if I'm reported missing that I'm not, and bluntly said that I'm running from an abusive family and was going away to college, and never coming back. I got rid of my phone and everything. I went to school, got a good internship turned job, bought the condo that I was renting, and had my dream wedding. Christy got in contact with me via Facebook. Her DMs, 2 days worth because I don't really use my Facebook, consisted of her saying that I abandoned her when she needed me most, that she practically was a single mom, her husband, my ex, hates her, and got with a woman that looks like me. Our parents blame her for me leaving and won't help her, and the entire family treats her kid like crap for being the product of an affair. She didn't get into any of the colleges that she applied to, couldn't go to college as a full-time mother. She switched between blaming me for her misfortune and throwing a pity party. While reading, I didn't feel much of anything reading how awful her life turned out, and I think I truly just stopped caring, and so even karma beating her down didn't give me any joy. Then she both DM'd and tagged me in a post that read, "I feel like I'm drowning and I just need my sister. Why won't you respond? Why did you leave me when I needed you the most? Please, I'm in such a bad place. If you don't help, I'll just end it all." I replied via comment and DM, "Go ahead and off yourself. I'm not helping you and frankly don't care. You stopped being my sister the day that you gave me bleach as a gift," and blocked her shortly after. The logical part of me is telling me that that was wrong, but I just can't bring myself to care enough to feel guilty. If something happens to her, I still don't think that I'll care. This is contrary to what her family and friends think, all people I've blocked without bothering to read their messages. In the comments, Cassowary32 says, "Given how close you were in age, is it possible that one of you is adopted or the product of an affair? I don't understand how your parents could be so openly cruel and no one stood up for you. You didn't deserve any of that, and I'm glad you were able to thrive without them. I hope you live a good life, far, far away from all those people. You don't owe your sister anything." OP says, "No adoptions, no affairs. Just colorism and me being unplanned, so essentially unwanted. Your childhood was next level abuse. I think there is a lot of rage and grief and pain that you've buried and aren't letting yourself feel where the family is concerned. I'm so happy for you that in spite of everything, you pressed on and overcame. You seem to be the scapegoat of narcissistic parents and your sister their narcissistic golden child. Her calculating, manipulative toxicity wants to rear its head in your life. I know this sort of sibling. They try to undermine you at every turn and want to take everything that belongs to you just to cause you pain. Your pretty clothes weren't given to her on the spur of the moment, they were given to her because she demanded them. These sorts are absolutely horrific human beings. Cutting them all out of your life was such a brave thing to do. It was necessary, but it takes so much courage to actually act. I know how you feel. When she got in touch now, you didn't owe her any sort of response at all. I think you should simply have blocked her without responding, whatever she says. Any way she contacts you, block. If she uses third parties, block them. And yes, please delete the message that you did send. Keep being happy, keep being you. The nightmare is long over. Your sister doesn't get to say that it's not. And if you can, please maintain strict no contact for good." OP replies, "She deleted the post that she made, and I did delete the message that I sent this morning. Thank you for your kind words." This sounds like one or both parents are narcissists, and I don't use the word narcissist lightly. A narcissistic parent will choose one sibling to be the golden child and will give them everything and raise them to think they can never do any wrong. They will choose another sibling to be the bad child and will abuse or neglect them. Narcissistic parents use their children to play out their own childhood wounds. They see their children as merely an extension of themselves. One will be treated the way that they wish they had been treated when they were growing up, and the other child will be treated as their outlet for anger and resentment. Oftentimes with parents like that, their family probably has similar disorders and they will support the abuse. I am so sorry you had that childhood. I personally would not make any attempts to reconcile with them. The reason is only because they, not you, but they, will not reconcile with you. They will just draw you back into their cycle of abuse, they will not admit any wrongdoing, and you will again be the target for their blaming, resentment, and abuse. You made a better life for yourself away from them. And now, onto the update, titled, "Mother-in-law got arrested. Not a good thing, but I'm happy regardless." This happened 2 days ago. She said worth it once my husband Derek and I bailed her out. No charges are being pressed against her, something I'm extremely happy about. This is somewhat of an update to my previous post about my sister Christy and my response to her unaliving threats. It wasn't nice, and I still don't feel guilty. My mother, who we'll call Emma, was able to get in contact with my brother Cam not long after Christy's post was deleted. He didn't tell me at the time, but he thought that it was our maternal grandparents calling. It wasn't. He did talk to her and shared that I was married, had a good job, and so on. He essentially was rubbing in her face that I was living an amazing life and that I didn't need them. He admits that he saw red when she didn't believe this because I never posted about any of that stuff on Facebook. Again, I don't really use it. If I want you to know something, I'll call or text. He sent her pictures of my wedding, specifically pictures that showed how extravagant and intimate it had been. We only had 32 guests, and because of mother-in-law and father-in-law's contributions, we were able to have our dream wedding at a beautiful venue. Cam also listed all of my other achievements, talked on how I finally had parents that loved me and treated me properly. I can't even be mad at him, even though he thinks that I should because Emma figured out where I was based on his bragging about having mended his relationship with me and me staying with him. But based on that, he thinks that that's how she figured out where to start looking. Plus, our shared and individual friends and my in-laws are far more active online than I am, and not all of them have their accounts private. Cam follows them and they follow him, so he feels like he is to blame. She doesn't know where I live, hopefully, but she was at a cafe that I normally go to with my mother-in-law. She and father-in-law are adamant about group and solo bonding with their children, and I'm always included in this tradition. I was with my mother-in-law and, well, Cam wasn't exaggerating about me having parents that now love me. When I first met Derek, I had a hard time opening up to him, and we both agreed to start as friends and see where things went when I was comfortable with the idea of any kind of intimate relationship. His parents were so kind to me, and when we started dating, I had difficulty with them. It was my father-in-law who sat me down one night after dinner and told me that their son loves me, and they can see why. So I should love myself and allow myself to be loved too. By that point, I had spent 3 months observing how they treated Derek and his older brothers, how close Derek was with his parents and brothers, and how healthy their relationships were. I blubbered and can admit that I fixated on him ruining my makeup. It was my obsessing with my appearance instead of dealing with internal crap phase, and father-in-law just hugged me and said that I was adorable, but shouldn't ignore my feelings like that because it would just fester. He's amazing and I love him so much. Random tangent, but that memory came to mind. Anyways, mother-in-law and I came to the cafe together, and I'm gonna be honest, I didn't really recognize my mother until I heard her speak. Her voice is the same voice that used to insult me and yell at me. No different after so many years. She had gained weight and was still as attractive as ever, but I don't know. I didn't immediately realize that it was her. I realized who she was when she called me my name, and I just turned around and left. I didn't realize my mother-in-law wasn't following me until I was back in my car and about to start it. I got back out and went to go get her. I felt horrible for just leaving her behind like that. Mother-in-law seemed calm when I got back, but Emma was not. She was mid-sentence, and what I heard was, "Your daughter? Who do you think you are?" She shoved my mother-in-law, and my mother-in-law said, "The one that loves her the way that a mum should. Who do you think you are?" And then mother-in-law wasn't so calm because Emma said, "That lying W's real mother." That was all it took for her to jump on Emma. She got in multiple punches before I got her off, and cops showed up not too long after. I guess the cafe workers or customers called before things escalated. Either way, she was arrested and mother-in-law was bailed out ASAP. She told me it was worth it the moment we were in the car, and I just started laughing and crying when she ranted about how angry Emma made her, thinking she could call my daughter anything degrading and get away with it. She said she was so happy that I ran away and found them because she couldn't believe anyone could insult me like that when she knows what type of person I am and probably always have been. You just weren't allowed to be that person. I should have hit her harder. Is it awful that I feel so good about this? It's like my child self is getting her wishes, however delayed the granting is, and I'm just so happy that someone loves me enough to be angry for me. Growing up, my parents never defended me from anyone. Most of the time, they would openly agree with any insults directed at me, even when I was right there. As a footnote, I noticed some comments asking for an update on Christy. In a comment, I said that she deleted her post not long after I deleted my comments. The few people whose messages I actually read claimed that they were going to have a wellness check done and told me if something happened, it would be my fault. At the time, I didn't know that Cam and Derek were both getting messages too. Derek's response was to send everyone a comprehensive list of everything I had ever vented to him about. It included some of what I vented about in my first post, but also some other things I've told him about. He ended each list with a question. Why should my wife feel any shame for responding that way to one of her abusers? No one responded to him, and unlike me, he never blocked anyone. Cam's response was to shame them and reveal that Christy has always implied unaliving herself to get her way, just like her mother. He shared old texts between him and our parents, and some between him and Christy as proof. Yes, she has always done that, and so has our mother. But I didn't know that they did that to him too. No one responded to him either. I don't know if there was an actual wellness check. Cam has blocked everyone, including both sets of grandparents, so I guess I have another partner in my no-contact boat. Cam has apologized and offered to cover mother-in-law's bail. Derek told him no, but that he could host a small gathering celebrating mother-in-law's accomplishment instead. I love this man. I assured Cam that I don't blame him at all. Mother-in-law getting arrested made me feel awful, and I blamed myself for leaving her alone with Emma initially. But I don't blame Cam. The fact that he cared so much to be offended on my behalf and brag about me made me feel good too. Him and Derek and mother-in-law defending me just makes me feel pure joy. It's not a happy situation, but I'm just so happy regardless. Am I the asshole here for telling my father that if he hadn't cheated, he would still be with my mother? Long story short, when I was 10, my parents got divorced due to my father cheating with some woman at his office. After the divorce, my father got married to that same woman, and they had my half-siblings. In the divorce, my mother gained primary custody of me, and my father would visit on the weekends and would sometimes pick me up. I won't lie, I never liked my stepmother, not one bit. She was the reason that my parents separated, and I also blame my father too. So anytime I would stay at my father's house, I would also get into a lot of fights with her, and even after my half-siblings came into the picture, this woman got more bitter towards me. To the real story, my mother started to date this guy named Chuck, and things were getting really serious between them. He would spend the nights over, and he's always nice, so I kinda liked him. 2 weeks ago, my father was dropping me back home, and he saw Chuck leaving the house, and he started throwing a whole set of questions. Who's that? Oh, that's my mum's new boyfriend. Oh, I didn't know she was dating. Oh, for real, he's nice, and I kind of approve of him, so... And many other questions. So after the question, he left, and I thought that it was over, but 4 days ago, I was over by my father's for dinner, and I was telling him about something about Mum's work, and somehow the conversation changed to him asking about Chuck again, and I was giving him short answers. Like he was getting angry because of my hesitant answers, and he yelled that I wasn't telling him everything, and how could my mother date? I was dumbfounded, and I yelled back, why was he so concerned about her personal life? It's not like they were together anymore. Then he said some nonsense about safety, and I may have been wrong about this. I said if he hadn't cheated on her, maybe her and him would still be together. We continued back and forth until I was told to leave, which I did. And since then, I haven't spoken to my father. I have gotten a few calls from my stepmother saying that I had no right to say those things to my father, and he was just looking out for my safety. I just wanted to know if I was an asshole for saying that. In the comments, Big Nathaniel69 says, not the asshole. Oh, I so hope your stepmom was there to hear how interested and concerned, read jealous, your dad was in your mum's new boyfriend. Maybe you should bring it up again in front of her. And the audacity of that man to be angry when he literally cheated on her? Sorry, but your dad's kind of a clown, but I think you already know that. Yup, it's just a matter of time before he cheats on the stepmom too. Bold to think that he isn't already. Not the asshole. My sister got divorced about 6 years ago. Her husband was cheating, married the other woman 2 months after the divorce, and they now have 2 kids. My sister got engaged on Valentine's Day. Her ex is freaking out. How dare she move on so fast? Dude, you were married with 2 more kids 2 months after the divorce was final, but 6 years is too fast? My ex was devastated, quote unquote, when I had a second child to someone else when our son together was 9. Too bad he had already had 1 failed marriage by then, was engaged again, and had produced an unknown amount of spawn in that time. But somehow I was the bad guy. Never ceases to amaze me how quickly men move on. Also, they are very good at dating almost back to back. Not the asshole. Your dad shouldn't ask anything about your mum. It's not his business anymore. Try to be as civil as you can when you are with your dad, and when the law allows, you stay with your mum, because that'll be better for your mental health. I'll be the first to say that I don't think you're the asshole for telling your dad that if he hadn't cheated, he would still be with your mum. It just sounds like it makes sense, so that's why I'm saying that one. I understand the line of thinking, and I know why dickheads like him feel that way, but it's not justified at all. People move on, especially when you betray them like that. She's allowed to have relationships. Who does he think he is, coming down on OP and being such a prissy little prick about it? Never ceases to amaze me, that's for sure. And now, on to the updates. Hello everyone, I came back to give a little update. Well, after the incident with my father, I told my mother, and she was upset about the questioning and him putting me out after the argument, and if he had any problems with my safety, he should have come to her. And she kinda scolded me for yelling back at him. To the actual part of the update yesterday, my father came over at the behest of my mother because she wanted to talk. First, she sat me down with him and to let him and I know that it was safe for me to be around Chuck because she and Chuck work together, and then told my father that if he had any concerns, he should have brought it up to her rather than question me for answers, and that whoever she dates or have romantically involved with isn't any of his business. Because other than a co-parenting relationship, anything she does outside doesn't concern him or anyone else. I was made to apologize to my father for yelling at him. My father seems to be cool with everything that my mother was saying. My mother also told him to let his wife never call or text if it is not some emergency, and not to mess with their co-parenting relationship, which she has no part being in. I could see my father didn't like this, but his comments were quickly shut down. I saw a few comments I would like to address. I fully understand what some people were saying about him generally worrying about me being safe, because I would too if a random adult man was spending the night in the same house with my 16-year-old son, because I can say my father would die before any of that happens to me. Secondly, some were saying that he was jealous. Well, I can't say for sure if he was, but some of the questions he had asked me hinted at a jealousy vibe. And I'm fully aware when he saw my mother and Chuck, something clicked for him. For example, how often would he spend the night? Where would he sleep, or is he sleeping in your mother's bedroom? How often does he take your mother out? Does he help with anything in the house? Do they have sex when he's over? And more personal questions that I wouldn't want to repeat. I'm currently packing to spend a few days with him at my mother's behest, but thank you for your comments and thoughts. In the comments, Mental Woodpecker says, "It's just so weird and inappropriate to ask you about your mum having sex and the frequency. Like seriously. I'm glad she had a mature conversation with him, but still, that's so invasive and wrong to drag the child into that kind of stuff, regardless of age. Sorry, but your mum is wrong here. Being your father doesn't mean that he's entitled to a relationship with you, especially with how he acted and treated you. He should be low contact for now until he can prove that it wasn't the new norm. I honestly don't know if I would still be talking to my dad if he pulled some shit like this. His mask slipped for a second in front of you. The questions he asked you show how controlling and manipulative he really is. He's acting like he owns her or something. How could my mother date? Said the asshole who left that mother for his affair partner. That's such a huge thing for male cheaters though. They have affairs, leave for their side chick, and their exes do a huge chunk of the real parenting, leaving them with little time to date. The male cheaters then tell themselves that she's really not dating because she still loves him and is hung up on him because it's a big ol' boost to the ego. And nothing matters as much to any cheater as their own ego. Once the kid is self-sufficient enough for the ex-wife to get back into the dating game, it's time for the cheater to have a meltdown when he realizes that it was mostly logistics and not her quietly forever yearning for him. Holy shit, that dad is awful. He not only cheated on his wife, but married an affair partner that is still hostile to his kid, and then just let it happen. Is controlling of his ex-wife while highly doubting that he cares if his new wife was safe for his kid, since again, she is openly hostile to him, but also involves his child into the personal, romantic, and apparently sexual affairs of his mother? This guy is controlling trash, and I can't believe that there are two women who decided not only to marry him, but that he should father their kids. And I mean, he's a cheater. I have no doubt the lover role also got filled after his last marriage. Sometimes the existence of such men is stranger than fiction, but unfortunately it's very common. And that's why we come together and talk about these things, so that we don't go repeating the same mistakes that others do. I understand the point of that comment, saying that the father married someone that is openly hostile towards the son. And yeah, if I were the mother in this instance, I would be questioning that and asking, why is this partner allowed to just openly bully my son like that and be such an asshole towards them? But at least with situations like this, you can kind of see the mask slip, you can have the child on your side, and hopefully start getting away from that dickhead and his dickhead spouse. Doesn't really seem like there is any winning for the time being, though. It just sucks. It's just a crappy situation. Our next post is by user throwaway6675565 titled, "My parents wouldn't give me a family ring so I could propose to my girlfriend because my sister isn't married yet. I just need to get this off my chest. My girlfriend's birthday is on Saturday and I plan on proposing to her. Our anniversary is 6 months from Saturday, April 29th, and I think that would be a great day for a wedding. When my grandma died, she left all kinds of jewelry to my mum. She always said that if I wanted one of her rings to give to a woman in the future, she would let me pick. I know that my mum knows that she said this. I asked my mum for one of the rings, but my mum said, not yet. She and my dad said that my sister would be upset if I get engaged while she is still single and not married. It's not a secret that she's desperate to get married, but that's not my problem. My sister turned 29 in March, and I turned 31 last month. My parents said she'll be upset if I get married a month after her 30th birthday, so I went out today and bought a ring. It was never about money because I can afford to buy one. I just thought that it would be special to give my girlfriend a family ring. I'm still proposing on Saturday despite my parents forbidding me to do it. I'm just pissed off that they asked me to hold off until my sister is married when she isn't even in a relationship. Pisses me off, but I don't want anything to spoil my girlfriend's birthday." In the comments, Imagine Snapdragon says, "For her 30th birthday, your parents can gift her therapy. I turned 30 back in August, never married. You know what happened? Nothing. The world doesn't end when you're still single at a certain age." That's so weird. It's not like you're 17, a month after she turns 30? Does she own every month? Just wait until you start having kids or something before her. I get being sensitive to her feelings, but this is way over the top. I mean, they could let her pick a ring first and set it aside for the future. It just sucks that they're going to be more worried about her feelings than excited for you. Then they'll wonder why you'll always spend holidays at the in-laws. Not every month, just the 6 months preceding her birthday. Oh, and also the 6 months post-birthday, but that's it. And now, on to the update. I proposed on Saturday like I originally planned to. I proposed with the ring that I bought after my parents denied me one of my grandmother's rings. As I said in my original post, it wasn't about money. I could afford to buy a ring. It was about being sentimental because my grandmother always told me that I could have one of her rings. I didn't do anything elaborate or public. I proposed over breakfast, and she said yes. She called it the best birthday gift she's ever gotten. She had the same idea as me and had suggested that we get married on April 29, our 3rd anniversary, before I even brought it up. So that's what we're doing. We both agreed that we don't want anything huge or expensive, so we're going to keep it small. It's 1:15 p.m. now, about 28 hours since I proposed. When we announced the news, my sister was upset, just like I knew she would be, and my parents were mad that I didn't listen to them. I'm 31, and I don't rely on my parents for money. I told my parents and sister that if they're unhappy, they can skip the wedding. It would suck if I didn't have any family there, but I also don't want them to spoil this. I wasn't going to tell my fiancé what went down, but I did once my sister started melting down so she wouldn't be blindsided by any of it. She assured me that she loves the ring and thinks that my family is wrong. Her family had the exact opposite reaction of mine, and they are all happy for us. So that's it. All is well, my fiancé is currently at work, and it may sound stupid, but I miss her. She told me her co-workers are happy for her, and I know that mine will be too when I go in later today. Edits, I also appreciate all the supportive comments on my last post, so thanks for those. In the comments, Fun Statistician 550 says, "Where is it written that if your sister is not happy, then nobody else can be either? Your parents spoiled the shit out of her. She'll never find happiness with that entitled attitude. Good on you for your response. Congratulations on the engagement and upcoming marriage. Your family can go suck it since you're creating a family of your own." Now we know one of the reasons as to why she's still single. Parents raised her to be entitled and selfish. For her to not even be happy for someone that she's supposed to love says a lot about her. Good luck with the wedding, OP, and keep those people on minimal contact. I wouldn't put it past them to try and mess with the wedding out of envy. An invitation to the wedding should only follow apologies and groveling. Congratulations on the engagement. Yup, none of them should get any more details. No information about the place, the reception, the honeymoon, most certainly not invites, nothing until every last one of them grows up and shows that they are going to be grown-ups to you and your fiancé. OP on what happens to the ring if he got married first before his sister does. She would get to keep the rings. OP says, "No, because my parents said that if my sister was married, they would have let me pick one of the rings like my grandmother said that I could. My parents said that if my sister was married, they would have honored my grandmother's wishes. Out of all her jewelry, I would have only gotten one ring and the rest would go to my sister. There are multiple boxes full of jewelry and multiple rings. She really liked jewelry. I didn't expect my parents not to honor her wishes, and especially over something that I have no control over." And now, onto the final update. My original post and the first update can be found in my comment history, but the gist of it is, my grandmother loved jewelry and always said that I could have one of her rings for my future wife. When she passed away, she put in her will that I was to be allowed to pick one out if I was getting engaged. The other hundreds of pieces of jewelry got left to my mum to be eventually passed on to my sister. The rings I was supposed to pick from were not her engagement rings or any of the most expensive jewelry she had. In October of 2022, I asked my mum for a ring because I was going to propose to my then girlfriend of 2.5 years, but my mum said that I could not have one, and my dad backed her up. It was because my sister would be upset that I was getting married first. My parents forbid me from proposing. I was 31 years old when this happened, and I live in a different province, so they had no grounds to forbid me from anything. My grandparents on both sides came to Canada from Scotland. There is nothing in either culture that says that I'm supposed to wait until his younger sister gets married first. I bought a ring and proposed to my wife on her birthday. My parents were angry that I didn't listen to them. My sister had an absolute meltdown when she found out about the engagement, and I had not told her in advance that I was going to propose because I knew that she would react badly, even though she was 29 years old at the time. My wife and I got married 6 months after I proposed, in April of 2023. It did suck not having any of my own family at my wedding, but I focused on my wife instead. Here's my update. I went 18 months without speaking to my family, from a couple of weeks after I proposed until earlier this month. I guess my mum had a health scare, and even though she's fine, it got her and my dad worried enough to get back in touch a couple of weeks ago. My wife told me that she would support me in whatever I decided. I told my parents that we can't go back to the way things were before, and I will not let them talk to my wife right now after the way that they acted. My wife and I don't want kids, but if we did, I would keep my parents away from them too. They were surprised that I got married without telling them. I said I'm an adult who doesn't need their permission. We're going to start with occasional emails for now, and then go from there. My parents said sister is still upset that I'm married and she's not. She has never apologized for the way that she carried on or the way that she spoke about my wife. I have no plans to resume contact with her, and I told my parents not to bring it up. Again, thanks to those who left supportive comments in both of my posts. I forgot that I'd posted here until after my wife said something that reminded me of it, and I had some messages asking for an update. In the comments, Intelligent Ad says, "Your sister's a nut job. Even if you lived in a culture where the older gets married before the younger, you are older than your sister, so that really wouldn't matter. I think your parents have enabled your sister's behavior, which is allowing her to continue acting this way, and possibly getting worse. She is miserable and wants everyone else to be too, and your parents should have put their foot down years ago. Maybe now, seeing that you're not going to stop living your life because they ask you, they will change. You getting married has nothing to do with your sister. She being single has nothing to do with you. Just go live your life and be happy. That's the best revenge anyway. There is definitely a reason she's still single and likely to be forever alone. Right? Her reaction to Big Brother getting engaged and married first, logically speaking, wouldn't one expect that? Is a clear indication that she is a raging harpy that is difficult to be around. Quotes, "They were surprised that I got married without telling them. I said I'm an adult who doesn't need their permission." Their feelings are hurt because of their reaction. If you had informed them of a wedding, they would have thrown a fit. Don't let them rewrite history that they would have supported you if you'd have given them the chance. They may be sorry, but part of being remorseful is knowing what they did wrong. Congrats on your marriage. Sheesh, I can see why his sister is still unmarried. No one wants to marry a nutjob like the sister. So everybody just caters to the spoiled sister? The parents have created their own monster. Guys can sense that desperate to be married vibe a mile away, and it's not attractive. I don't even like that quality in friendships. It's creepy. I don't want to be close to someone whose happiness hinges on another person's behavior, particularly when they haven't even met that person yet. I had a friend like this once. She lost all of her friends besides me and one other person due to a health incident that was admittedly hard to deal with for both her and me. But once she got better, she was lonely as she was a very social person before, and her old friend groups had cut contact. Instead of trying to establish new friendships like I kept suggesting, she went on several Tinder dates a week, desperate to finally find a permanent partner. None of the dates ever worked out well enough to even warrant a second date. She put so much pressure on it, expecting to know by the first date if she wanted to marry the guy and expecting them to be totally blown away by her average beauty and impressed by her multiple university degrees, so they would be head over heels after about an hour or so. They weren't, obviously. Most guys are looking for peace in a relationship. The level of anxiety these kinds of girls bring is suffocating. Unless a dude is really hard up for a piece, there won't be a second date. Am I the asshole for spending my son's university fund on a trip to Europe to drink beer like I always threatened, instead of giving it to his stepbrother after he passed away? So my son was smart. He was smarter than me. I almost requested a paternity test because he was so damn intelligent. That's a joke. My ex and I divorced when he was about 12. She remarried when he was 14. I did when he was 16. I had an RESP set up for him. That's an education fund in Canada. As long as he went for post-secondary education, he could use the money for anything. I always told him that I was okay with him not going to university. That way I could use the money that I'd saved up for him to go to Belgium and buy some beer from Monks that only allow you to buy one case. He knew that I was joking, and he always played along. He wouldn't let me get his goat. When he got accepted to McGill, it was the proudest moment of my life. I took him out for a beer to celebrate his achievement and mourn the loss of my trip to Europe. My son was struck and killed by a drunk driver in March. I'm dealing with it. My ex is dealing with it. My wife has been nothing but my rock in this. She is holding me up. I was dealing with the funeral arrangements and everything when my ex came to talk to me about his money. She knew he had a scholarship and was just going to use the money for living expenses and an emergency fund. She asked me what I was going to do with it. I said I was going to do what I always said that I would. I was going to go to Europe to drink beer. She asked if she could have it for her stepson. I thought about it and said no. Her husband is a decent enough person, but he made it clear that he wasn't responsible for any expenses for my son, beyond food and shelter and stuff, obviously. Like I said, he is decent. I said I was not going to do that. I was going to go drink beer in my son's honor. She said I'm wasting thousands of dollars. And I guess I am. I have to give back the government portion of the fund, but I don't care. My ex thinks that I'm being stupid and irresponsible wasting my son's money like this. I don't care. My son would laugh his ass off if he knew I actually did it. In the comments, did your ex contribute to this fund? That's important to know. OP says, not money. I probably put in 95% of the principal, not counting what the government did. It was my folks, her parents, and cash birthday and Christmas gifts when he was little. She never put in money. That doesn't in any way minimize the fact that without my ex, our lifestyle would have been impossible. Not the asshole, but Jesus Christ, I am so sorry. Can you tell us more about your son? Share your favorite story about him, what he wanted to do for a job, your favorite activity together. OP says, my son wanted to study microbiology and immunology. He was thrown for a loop by the pandemic and wanted to make sure that it didn't happen again. He talked about a lot of stuff that went over my head. I'm a baker, I understand yeast. He loved the Habs. I would get us tickets at least once a year. In response to, what are the Habs? Nickname for the Montreal Canadiens, the hockey team that we cheer for. He loved kayaking with me. We are close to so much water. Well, maybe it was all your yeast that inspired his passion for microbiology. The thing I wish the most for you is that this trip lets his memory bring more joy that he lived than sorrow that he is gone. OP says, I remember teaching him how to make his own sourdough starter. I still have his, and I will use it forever, I think. I don't know if your son would have liked Aussie beer, but me and the boys online at work, Restaurant Kitchen, have cracked open Great Northerns in his honor. Your story deeply touched a group of Aussie chefs. We've all texted our dads. Enjoy your trip, dude. Sounds like it's definitely what your son would have wanted. And OP says, he enjoyed a Victoria Pale Bitter before, and I did as well. Oh, a VB long neck at 8 o'clock in the morning. Get that up, ya. Not the asshole, but why is your ex not helping with the funeral arrangements? That's her son too, and now she's acting like a vulture. Block her, and don't give a flying fish about her. Her current husband didn't treat your son like family, so why would you be his kid's ATM? OP says, no, her husband is a decent person. He has his own son to look after. My son had 2 parents. My ex's husband is a good person that was never cruel or abusive towards my son. He and I had a good relationship. He is a good person. The reason I took care of the funeral arrangements is because my son lived with me to finish high school. I was responsible for him. We still lived in the eastern townships. My ex and her husband just moved to Montreal last year. He was going to live with them while he was in university. From someone who lost her 15-year-old sister to a car accident, this really tore me up way more than I thought it would. She was killed a month after her 15th birthday and had just been accepted to a private high school with a full-ride scholarship that she had been trying for. The acceptance letter sat on her vanity in her room for years after. You were not the asshole. If anything, you were far from it. The ex-wife even asking is a huge one. Please go to Europe and celebrate his life. It's the only thing that should be done with that money. If you have a Venmo or Cash App, I would also like to buy you a beer. I'm truly sorry for your loss. OP replies, thanks for the offer. I'm gonna update when I'm there. I'd appreciate it if you had one with me instead. And now, onto the update. Hi everyone, we're on our way to the airport and on our way to Barcelona. We're going to be in Europe for a month. The visit to the monks at West Vleteren will be the last part of our trip. 2 reasons. I don't want to lug beer bottles all over Spain, France, Belgium, and Holland, and also I'm putting it off as long as I can. For those of you that asked, my son's name is Ryan. He was an amazing kid. I don't know if he got his love for the microscopic world from me. I did teach him how to make his own sourdough starter, and I will be keeping his alive to make loaves and waffles with. His ashes are in our yard, on Mount Treblant, on the shores of the St. Lawrence, and I will be taking some to Belgium. My grandfathers have many friends buried there, and I think they would approve. I thank everyone that offered to buy me a beer, and while I appreciate the offer, I'm pretty sure my liver and my wife would not have been happy with me. I will be with the monks on the week of the June 23rd. If you would like to join me in a toast with your favorite drink of choice, I would love that more. I love knowing that people all around the world know about my son, and he would love knowing that he was toasted in such a manner. I spoke with my wife, my ex-wife, her husband, and his son. I invited them to join us, at my expense, for the last week of my trip. My wife's stepson has friends with my son. I didn't know how close until we spoke. They are gaming buddies. They spoke almost every day playing online. He gave me a picture with my son that I did not have. It's a picture of the two of them at about aged 14 to 15 and my ex-wife's wedding to his father. My son looked great in his suit. I cried, he did too. We had a very awkward but heartfelt man hug. Then we laughed. They will be coming to say goodbye with us. After talking to my accountant and my lawyer, I was told that I could not have transferred him the value of the RESP. I have decided, after talking to my wife, that we are going to give him enough money to cover 1 year of tuition. Even after my trip, we will have money left over. I'm trying to do some good with it. I also said that he could call us anytime he needed, since he will be attending school close to us. So funny he got accepted here, and my son was accepted there. I want to thank everyone who shared their condolences with me. I want to especially thank everyone that helped me plan my visit to Belgium. I know we won't see each other, but you were invaluable. I don't think I have much to say after this. Maybe I'll post an update after the trip. In the comments, Snossagefest says, I love updates like this. Too many people here get wrapped up in this ultimate moral right. Recognizing you're not the asshole, but you are in a position to help others, and choosing to do so is a lovely way to be, and is something we should all aspire to. What a lovely update. I will put a reminder to have an adult beverage in honor of Ryan the week of June 23rd. Screw anyone who drives drunk. I lost a good friend just over 2 years ago when he was struck by a drunk driver. Drunk driver was barely hurt, but my friend didn't make it. It devastated his parents, his brother, about 5 different large friend groups, and will always feel the hole where he should be. This post just really hit me hard and brought back the grief. So yeah, screw drunk drivers. My cousin danced like a maniac at my brother's wedding. It was great, and I was really looking forward to him doing the same at mine. Some drunk asshole stole that from me. Co-signed. My grandpa was killed by a drunk driver when I was 12. I'm 33, and it still stings. His killer was up for parole, but got denied. She doesn't think that she did anything wrong. My pap passed when a drunk driver crossed the median of an interstate and hit his work truck at 4 a.m. on a Tuesday. My old man went to the scene and had to see his dad, still in the truck. Barely got to know the guy. From what I'm told, I look and act like him. Short, scrawny, always have a coffee, speak the truth as I see it, and all that. That was some 20 years ago. I visited this morning and I told him about my new job that I start tomorrow. I hope he'd be proud of me. Cabbage-tastrophe says, I'm in microbiology and immunology, and I'm so sad that his son isn't going to have the chance to learn all the cool shit he was about to start learning. I don't know why, but part of it is hitting me surprisingly hard. There is nothing worse than someone with a true passion whose life has been cut short. Absolutely tragic. This whole thing hit me so hard. For me, it's the father-son relationship aspect. My dad isn't perfect and neither am I, but damn do I love him. I also love when Reddit unites over a common good. Ryan's memory will live on through thousands of people. Beautiful. Not even remotely ashamed to have shed a tear or two over this whole post. I'ma be real, I'm very close to one as well myself, and I want to go and share a beer with him in Belgium. Very beautiful post, and it just reminds you how fickle and easily your life can be taken away from you by someone just like a junk driver, just like that. Words can't describe the remorse that I feel for such a loss, but I do hope that the trip to Europe and having a beer in his honor helps, bring you guys a little peace knowing that this is something he would have loved you guys doing. Thank you for sharing your story, OP.